Revival House Network.
And don't like the brags, I don't like the boast. They like hot butter on the breakfast toast. Watching flicks, talking chicks, I like to motorboat. Can Riverman make it, yo, a check? Nope. So look at all these movies I got. Commenting like, should we watch them or not? And I know they just be acting for cash, but I still got one question to ask. Like, why'd he do that, do that, do that? If that was me, I'd be like, screw that, screw that, screw that. I'm an alpha, I'd eat through that, through that, through that. So why'd he do that, do that, do that?
Revival House Network, BTM boys, Zach and Aaron back. This time we got GOAT in tow for our last week of the cyborg exploitation or robo exploitation, depending on if you're asking me or Zach. We're doing T1. If you don't know what T1 means, I can't help you. Nobody can save you. You know what we're talking about.
Train spotting.
Train spotting.
Yeah, the first train spotting movie.
You could probably see the thumbnail unless Zach made it really unidentifiable with some wackiness that he does. But anyway, this is a classic, Terminator 1. And we did RoboCop 1 and 2. Fuck, you know what? I actually doxed myself. You know why? I said final week, but we're recording out of sequence. Whoops.
Oh.
Yeah, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
Because we had to film these out of sequence.
This movie deals with time travel, baby.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so it makes sense. So technically, you guys are hearing this, but we've already done T2, our future us's.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we're going to go ahead and queue up. Zach, explain to him where we're at in the movie and where everybody's starting.
As soon as the Orion logo faded in, we paused it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we're like 10 seconds into the original DVD because we got past the MGM logo because that's not on the original version of the movie.
Nope.
All right, rock on. So queued up at the stars. We're going to go in 3, 2, 1, play.
Hell yeah. And fun fact, our boy the GOAT, like, you know, he didn't just call himself the GOAT. That's actually, he was anointed to him when he was born, too. And, like, people don't know this.
Exactly.
But, like, he does grow goat horns. And I tell him, like, just keep them because they look metal as fuck, but he always removes them because he's like, Zach, I want to be, you know, I don't want to stand out. I want to look like the rest of the people.
Yeah, I just want to fit in. I don't want to be like Larry David with his giant Satan goat.
Exactly.
I thought you said he was born annoyed. I'm like, that fucking Pizza Hut thing, or
The
what was that, Domino's?
The Noid. Avoid the Noid.
What was the Noid? Was that Domino's?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking death grips. They stay noided.
Right off the bat, we're starting off strong with this one, boys. Just getting in with the future war segment, like just a little bit of a hint and a tease. And I like the way this movie hints at the future war, and you get little glimpses here and there. Don't overdo it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you haven't heard it yet, obviously, but we talked about it during the T2 commentary. Which, by the way, everybody, sorry, Riverman bailed. He bailed. He says he got sick, but let's be honest. I mean, that's what everybody says when you can't make it. I'm sick or I'm throwing up is what he said. I mean, not that I don't want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but we wanted to have him on more this month than what we originally, ended up having. But what am I saying? We're in the past. You guys only know that yet. Fuck.
Exactly.
I'm already doxed myself again. It's throwing me off.
Fucking idiot.
But during the discussion, when we talk about T2, I think they should have did this approach, this stripped down storytelling approach to Dark Fate.
Yep.
Why they keep dumping $300 million, like movies are becoming more and more and more grossly over budgeted. And now usually that I would think when you look at movies in the Marvel universe, I'm like, that has to be going to all the A-list talent they want to throw in one film. That's why these movies are so inflated in budget. It can't possibly cost this much, but there's no way Linda Hamilton made more than fucking, I mean, maybe they paid her 10 grand just because of who she is to the franchise. I don't 10 million. I mean,
I would have paid her 10 grand just for that scene where she shows her boobs.
Yep.
Yeah. And ew.
Those were worth it.
If they were going to do that pseudo, hey, let's just kind of rehash the first one. They should have rehashed the sex scene and they could have had her tits in this one too.
Oh yeah.
But no, they should do it. Like, of course you're not going to make money when you got $300 million budget or whatever. It was something astronomical because the movie, by anybody else's standards, I think it did like 175 million. Or like, no, it did. Fuck, it probably did like 200 million worldwide, 250 million worldwide. It was a hit by anybody else's standard. But when your movie costs $300 million out of the gate, if they just made this fucker 50 to 100 million max, we would have a sequel. I mean, not that I want a sequel to that. It wasn't very good, but
no.
You know what I mean, though? I don't understand what people are thinking.
The CGI de-aged Linda Hamilton at the beginning of Dark Fate was hot.
Oh, no, it wasn't good.
She was hot, though.
I'm waiting for Zach's de-aged of Eddie Furlong joke, him being hot.
I don't do that no more.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he don't do that. He's reformed. I didn't think that Eddie Furlong looked really like Eddie Furlong at all, to be honest with you.
He didn't. He looked like a video game.
No.
Yeah.
It's funny. Zach doesn't do that anymore until people hear T2 next week, which is in the past.
Yeah, that's in the past, though.
Because he said, what did you said something that grossed me the fuck out. You're like, when it had a close-up of, I think it was during that scene of, when his mom yells at him in the car, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I'm okay. And it was a close-up on his lips, and you're like, look at his wet, juicy lips. Look so kissable. Like, I was like, what the fuck?
That didn't happen. You're a liar.
It's fucking terrible. But he always says it at the most awkward fucking moments in the world.
See, I think this guy is the unsung hero of the whole film. Like, if everybody would have done what he does, like, they all would have been fine.
Yeah, he just gets out. And I like this is I think a lot of this, especially the day players, you can tell if you ever watch the original trailer. And then like a lot of the scenes, like not the main actors, but just like the people like this guy and the cop and shit later, they all have like different voices in like the original trailer, so they all got overdubbed. But whoever did the voice of the garbage truck driver, he did a great job with it. What the hell? What the hell?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I love the performances. I love how it looks. I like all the character actors they have in it. You got Dick Millers and shit in there. Everything about this movie, I can understand why some people prefer this to T2, but I think you can't even compare them because they're both awesome movies for what they're trying to do respectively, each one.
Until I watched this coming up, getting ready for this episode, I didn't remember liking this one as like I remembered like, oh yeah, I like T2 and I like it like astronomically more than the original. Like this time watching it, I was like, yeah, this one's really good.
They're apples and oranges, basically. I mean, they're both sci-fi en route, but that's about as far as it goes. Obviously T2 is a big action blockbuster, and
that's a but.
I don't think blockbuster's a naughty term. Like, oh, taboo.
No.
These film buffs that are so against it, they want nothing but Criterion and art house shit. I can't stand that kind of snobbishness. But I think blockbusters are great. If you know how to do it, they can be done right. Jurassic Park back in the day, that was fucking a blockbuster, right? It's a real crowd pleaser. It's supposed to blow your mind with technology and effects and stuff like that. They're lazy these days. Now we've relied on CGI that's pretty much been dated for the last 10, 15 years. It hasn't gotten any better.
It's actually getting worse.
Or worse. Dark Fate. Yeah, that's not really. Yeah. No one's really pushing the envelope. And I think that's what blockbusters should do. T2 pushed the envelope. I mean, I think it's more so than Jurassic Park, the benchmark on being ahead of the time. And yeah. I don't even know if things still, I guess if you watch the 4K of T2, the CG does kind of look like a cartoon a bit. So I guess you could argue that it's been finally topped. But I swear, man, for 15 years, they weren't making movies that looked as good as it. But you still can't match it as far as what they were doing with the practical stunts, with the fucking semi going off the bridge, all this real shit they used to do that I understand why they don't do it from a practical standpoint. If you can get away without having to risk people's lives and insurance and liabilities and cheaper, probably. Yeah, I get it. But it's just not as magical.
I agree.
But that's T2. This movie, on the other hand, it was a different period of time. This is like almost exploitation. It's kind of got a slasher vibe. I mean, the Terminator is a slasher killer, essentially.
Exactly.
And it's grimy, they're two totally different beasts.
Roger Corman, gave Cameron his start in visual effects, and Cameron directing this his first movie he directed. I mean, there's obviously the whatever Piranha 2, whatever, but as far as we know, Cameron the auteur, this is his first real movie, and it's like this movie. It has that, to me, this is a movie more for adults, and that's why I like it more. Like you said, T2 is the 4-quadrant blockbuster, summer blockbuster. Mm-hmm. This movie is just like more grimy, more slimy, and, Cameron showing his, exploitation roots. This one's like sci-fi horror exploitation. You know what I mean?
I think it would be looked at a lot different if they never made a sequel and this was just a standalone classic. It would have a different following. I think it still have a strong following and the same following. But T2, like I said, it has its place. I don't think it's a naughty terminology to be a blockbuster, but it had everything that came with that. It had the extra money, like you said. It had the toy line. Hey, let's sell kids' toys. Let's sell products, the licensing. It had Topps cards. Just all kind. I mean, they had everything short of fucking Happy Meal deals.
Did you guys know that Cameron actually he got fired working on Piranha 2, didn't he?
I don't know.
Like he did.
Yeah.
He
shot part of it, and then
And apparently he came up with the idea for this movie like after he got fired or something. Like he got real sick or something, and
he had a fever dream.
Yeah, and like he wrote it down and all that, and then, it came. And originally, the whole shutting down Cyberdyne was supposed to be in this movie, and like I guess originally there were supposed to be 2 Terminators sent back in time. Because originally Kyle Reese had a partner that was sitting with him, and like he died while they were coming back in time through some kind of fuck up that can happen in the original version, which they wrote out for the sequel and stuff. But like because of that, the Cyberdyne, they sent back another Terminator, and it was going to be the liquid metal Terminator. And they couldn't pull it off with like the effects they got, so he took it out. And then after he made the Abyss and with the CG effects in that movie, he's like, "Yeah, I could totally do that with the next Terminator movie."
Which, if you sorry,
it's good that they saved that too, because like just the basic Terminator, just the idea of a endoskeleton with human flesh on top, that was like enough for this particular movie, and it's good that they saved a second one for the sequel.
Keep it grounded, man. Keep it small. Like I said, I'm going to go back to that thought, but Dark Fate, why does everybody want to retread an original of a franchise when they're trying to like reboot it or jumpstart it? They want to do it in every way except for the budget, because Dark Fate was it was like, I think it was mostly a retread of T1, right? The way it was paced and the way they were setting up a new timeline. It's like, great, if you guys are going to do this fucking cheap cash in, give it a $50 million budget. Like, guarantee yourself profit. I don't understand. And you don't need it. I think this movie's so awesome. And a lot of these movies are so great back in the day, even back when people were using stop motion, because they were limited. Limitations bring out creativity, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you can see just a stark contrast between Terminator 1, even Terminator 2, even though they had, I'm sure, all the money in the world. But Terminator 1 and Dark Fate. Dark Fate was lazy. Right?
And it was basically a remake, just like 1 or 2 twists thrown in from the original story.
What's weird? Like, I got the feeling from the Dark Fate trailers, I'm like, what the fuck are these assholes doing? And I felt the same way when I saw the movie. As much as it rips off the original Terminator movie and all that, and it's funny too, because like Tim Miller was talking all this shit about Genesis. To me, Dark Fate is a R-rated remake of Genesis, and I think it's weird that like they didn't fucking like see it coming, or like they must have sworn that movie off so hard that they never watched it. They didn't realize they were just fucking stealing it, because it's like Genesis, you have like the bootleg version of the T-1000, same thing with Dark Fate. Except now his skeleton can split. The action scenes, like if you watch the trailer for Genesis, it's like way too many CGI action scenes, too big of action scenes as well that don't really fit in Terminator movie. Like when they're jumping out of like fucking helicopters and shit in Genesis, and like they're doing all the same shit and Dark. Like when you saw the initial trailer for Dark Fate, and that motherfucker like separated his whatever liquid skin off the thing, and he came out of the truck. Like you just felt like, okay, this is something from a shitty Terminator sequel. This doesn't feel like anything that would have happened out of T1 or T2. This feels like, fucking Genesis. You know what I mean? Like
that here,
to me,
my opinion is, with the way they kind of try and up the ante constantly, they set the bar way too high with T2, right? Like, well, how do we, they did that with every sequel. Well, God, where do we go from a liquid metal Terminator? Let's make it a woman, and now she can actually be moving parts, right? Isn't that her thing? Yeah. She can turn to like moving sharp parts.
What do you think of part 3, Goat? Like, I never hated it that much.
I hate it.
Okay.
I hate it. I completely hate it. To me, it's like the second they were like, oh, we got to put some humor. It's like, to me, Terminator is the one franchise that should never have any humor. And like, I understand there was the humor between, the little boy and the Terminator in part 2, but I mean,
it was it was very natural.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it wasn't forced.
We're doing Elton John jokes 5 minutes into T3, and I'm just sitting there. I seriously remember like me and my dad going to see that.
I cringed.
Because we went and saw this one, and like for years, like literally when this movie came out, I was like about 7 years old. Up until that point, my favorite movies were just all the Star Wars movies. And I saw this one, and like to me, this was the first like adult movie that I really, really loved. And like I was just so obsessed with the endoskeleton Terminator afterwards, and there was like no toys, no nothing of it back then. So like you just all you had to do was like look at pictures in a magazine or watch the movie over and over, and it's like to watch Terminator 3 have everything be so like slap happy and stupid, and they're like, you know, oh this female Terminator, she can control cars and machines. I'm like, that's fucking boring. That is so boring to watch stuntmen driving crane trucks slamming each other. Who gives a shit?
How appalling was it in like the first scene or whatever of T3? They have that gaudy acting, like, wait your turn, bitch.
Yeah.
Talk to the hand. Like it sounded, I don't know. I feel like you or me would have better line delivery right now if they gave us a script, and it just set a bad tone for the whole movie of what was to come. The whole gag, the whole
Most
bit.
people say that about the original too. There's a reason they only gave Arnold a couple lines. Like he wasn't very good at acting. Apparently, that's what everybody.
I disagree with that. Honestly, I think they just realized less is more.
He can play a robot
honestly.
really well. His monotone delivery works for this, right? Fuck you, asshole.
He actually barely has more. Like maybe like 3 or 4 more lines in Conan the Barbarian, which is
To hell with you.
yeah.
But I mean, also too, though, to be real honest, like movies were different back then. Now movies, even the big budget blockbusters, they're basically TV with a big budget, meaning they're all based around dialogue. They're all based around scenes of people looking at each other. Like back then, even like, you know, as back as like 1984, like movies were different. They were motion pictures back then.
Yeah.
Like just look at this movie. Like we totally have, you know, because we're talking about all this other stuff. We haven't even like pretty much almost every single scene in this movie, and like
It's moving.
let's see,
There's
how
action.
How far are we? We're like 15 minutes in. Yeah, 15-minute mark. Everything in here is so economically paced. The insert shots, the cuts, the back and forth, the running, the blah blah blah. Like everything in this movie, the first 15 minutes of this movie is so damn iconic. Like it just really is, and you don't get that in modern movies because it's like, okay, let's go ahead and get our obligatory dialogue out of the way so we can get to the CGI action scene, which the whole audience knows nobody from the actual cast is participating in. And then once that CGI action scene is over with, let's cut back to some more talking. Like, that's not the way this, like in this movie, it's edited to perfection to the point where like little scenes, like where he just throws a guy out of the way to look in the phone book, or he walks in the gun store, like whatever, like everything sticks in your mind, whether you've seen this movie twice or 200 times.
Did you guys notice how understanding that guy he throws out of the way is too? He's just like, hey, you got an attitude problem, man.
Well, the guy's Arnold, dude. You're gonna fucking talk shit to that guy?
I mean, dude, I don't
You'll
fucking
be like, all right, never mind. Hey, you know what though? So I don't know if you're talking about the difference between movies today, their padded dialogue, and back then when they were more motion pictures. Now, that's either a testament to writers just being really shitty, not knowing how to tell a story without contrived wording or exposition, or it's a testament to how little they think of their audience. Like we gotta really drown. You gotta kill everybody with words and tell everybody what's going on. You know what I mean? And it's real tricky to have a movie with a lot of dialogue and it be good. Some people pull it off, but it's just I've always been of the school of less is more, typically, for sure.
Now, why is Skynet this shitty that they don't even they don't even give him a picture to know which Sarah Connor, what she looks like? I mean, come on.
Yeah, isn't that weird? That is really weird. At least he got a photograph back. No, he didn't get it. How did he get the photograph in T2? Wasn't it in his data bank? Was he like looking?
Well, Reese has a photo. You can like maybe I can just like,
Yeah.
like, okay, Kyle Reese has one because he got it right from John Connor. So maybe she just stayed off the grid.
I think that whole grievance is important to this story, though. They needed to keep it grounded. They didn't need to explore way too much, too many what ifs. Just make certain things because, and going back, because I never even finished the topic because you said something, but they kept trying to up the ante with from the T-1000, and you just can't do it. And by the time you get to Dark Fate, he doesn't feel that much removed from the Robert Patrick character. It's like, okay, great, he can split in two, but other than that, he's very similar. I don't really, he's not, yeah, I'm sure he has differences, but no one's really going to remember it. They're just going to remember a T-1000 knockoff, even down to looking like a cop. I think they really should have just went back to basics because they can't top it. They should have just they're changing time as it is, right? They're kind of going that angle. Go back to being an old school Terminator, keep it grounded, keep the effects practical if you can, keep the set pieces small. I just don't see how they couldn't have made a much better movie doing that. If you can't top T-1000, don't even try.
Well, the whole thing that's terrifying about the Terminator, and even to some extent Terminator 2 as well, is the whole original idea that Cameron had, that somebody, the complete stranger, can just walk up to you in a crowd and kill you for something you haven't even done yet, or like in Sarah Connor's case, for a child she hasn't even done yet, like that, and just the fact that like the Terminator is literally unstoppable. That's the thing, is they're never unstoppable. They're like like shitty video games, how they call the enemies like bullet sponges or whatever. Like that's all they do in the newest one. It's like hammer this motherfucker over and over and over, this Terminator, and he's just going to keep getting up. But it's like, that's not what's really scary about the Terminator, that you can blow him up and he's going to reform and look perfect again. What's scary about the Terminator is the amount of people he's going to kill to get to you, and they never get that right. Like they try to do it, I'll give them a tiny bit of credit, they try to do it a little bit more like that in Dark Fate, but they were obsessed with jerking off with their, I mean, come on, especially when like Venom had come out like a year earlier. Was anybody blown away by just seeing like black CGI slime reform over and over? Like they don't get it. Like I think some of the early Dark Horse comic books did it, because they maintain that edge where like they did these kind of like Terminator sequel type stories, where instead of one Terminator, Skynet sent back 3 Terminators, and none of them ever looked like Arnold or whatever, which was cool too. And then like you had some that like got damaged, and like there was one that like he was pretty much down to the endoskeleton, and he just like jacked a cop and killed a cop, and he actually put the clothes on over the metal skeleton. He was riding around in a cop car and shit like that is more scary than like these like insane CGI like Transformer battles that they put in these movies now.
Well, yeah, I mean, the idea of this Terminator in this movie, the T-800, is that he can just be incognito. He blends with the mass. Well, I mean, he's a fucking bodybuilder, but besides that, he blends with the masses. I mean, T-1000, I mean, yeah, he's not exactly showing off his liquid metal form in front of everybody blowing his cover, but he seemed more robotic. Like, I don't know, he just didn't seem very human. I think they were trying to go for him being more human, like the way he talked, like, it's a good looking boy, but he still just looked fucking creepy and rapey. But yeah, I like this movie. You were talking about dialogue really quick. I want to say, though, on that note, though, that's probably the best single line of dialogue in this movie is the Kyle Reese monologue, where he's talking about, it will not stop. He's going off about, basically it doesn't fucking care about your feelings. It doesn't care. It's going to keep going. That's a really cool part.
We talked over the giant Johnny Five getting blown up. I wait for that giant Johnny Five. Hey, anybody notice that, hey, she looks a certain way here? Sarah's roommate. And then later on in the movie, something looks different about her. We'll talk about it when it happens.
Okay. I think something's to be said too, that this is also just the only, well, I guess T2 is the only one in the 90s, but this is the only one in the 80s. And that's just special too. It's just got a certain aesthetic that you can't copy because it didn't happen during the era. I mean, I guess T2 is the only one in the 90s, huh? Because then T3 was in the naughties or whatever they call it. Yeah.
They're naughty.
The naughty.
The naughties. It was very naughty with how mainstream and lame it was.
I didn't hate it.
Hey, the guy looks like Tom Matthews.
Oh, yeah.
I actually had to do a double take.
Good old Rick Rossovich.
Hey, you know what, though? I think maybe, too, since the movies are very different, right? They're very different animals. I think that's also... I just don't think the scene works, but I know why they took it out. But that's also why the Michael Biehn deleted scene in T2 just feels off, because he's not a great actor. His acting fits in this movie. It fits everything.
For anybody listening, special announcement. I accidentally put in the fucking 40-minute longer extended cut of T2, so you're gonna get the commentary of that.
We were pissed. But no, yeah.
Hey, we can always now we can if Riverman wants to come do it, we can just be like, hey, we did it. We did do it twice, but we did the fucking extended cut the first time.
Yeah, Michael Biehn fits with this movie great. Everything about it. But yeah, everything is more polished about T2, even down the performances and the actors. And he just stuck out like a sore thumb. Like, man, it's just the next day for you, isn't it? After finishing the first one.
Well, I understand what they were going for with the Michael Biehn scene in T2, but I feel like they should have done it a little bit different. Like how he's having the nightmares here, and he's like,
there she is. Look at her. What's going on?
She's all hoarded up. The hair's all poofed up.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to. Are you saying I thought she was getting ready, Zach. I thought
she's wearing blackface. Don't tell me I'm the only one that notices. She put on blackface.
What?
I didn't notice it at all.
She might have put on a fake tan or something.
She got darker. See, why is that not considered racist? It's racist to put on dark paint, but not a dark tan?
I think you're the only person in history that's ever come to that deduction. I don't think anybody. I never.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Am I weird, or am I just the most consistent person alive?
It's Pugsley, right? That's her lizard's name, Pugsley.
Yeah, Pugsley.
She's a babe.
But it's just the scene is weird with Michael Biehn and T too, because like he's in like the whatever cell with her, and it's all like ghostly lit almost. They should have done more where she was having like, they should have done like a dream where it was like her, him, and John like living as a happy family, and then she snaps out. Like that would have fit more. Like if we could have seen like Reese like 10 years later, and he's more like almost like a normal dad now, and he's not like the scarred up PST whatever case, you know what I mean? Like that would have been more interesting. And then she wakes up and she's like, oh no shit, you know, he's dead, my son's gone, I'm stuck in this crazy bin.
I agree. They could have utilized him a lot better for sure. The way they ended up doing was cheesy.
That voice we just heard on the answer machine canceling their date, that beta cuck that just canceled the date with the hot fucking piece.
Linda Hamilton, yeah.
That was James Cameron.
Was it?
That was his voice, yeah.
What a beta cuck.
Beta.
He had the last laugh, though.
I would let her use me as her toilet.
Oh, yeah, especially in this era. That hair is awesome. I love her hair so much in this movie.
It's very Megadeth.
It is. It's so sexy that she rides around on a little scooter.
Mm-hmm. Apparently she has a twin sister, too, that they utilized in the second movie and didn't use the scene in the final cut.
That's so weird. I can't believe like there wasn't more movies back then that utilized her and her twin sister. You know what I mean?
You take advantage of that.
They could have done a grown-up version of It Takes Two with the fucking goat, or what's his? Or not the goat, the fucking the Gutenberg.
Yeah. Gutenberg, Steve.
Oh yeah.
Sure, Jean-Claude Van Damme's rolling over in his grave right now. That like he would have killed to have had a twin for Double Impact, and he had to use the shitty old school fucking doubling effect.
He had to like look in the mirror.
Yeah, whenever they used her twin to look like, you know, it's a scene where she's looking in the mirror, but you know it's not a real mirror, and you know they used her twin so that to basically play the reflection. Did they put her on the same diet of like fucking just egg whites and fucking like 80 fucking bench presses a day to get that look?
No, the way you use your twin.
The sister was the one in real time, and you just saw her from the back, and then Linda Hamilton was in the mirror. With Arnold, yeah.
There you go.
Well, also, too, didn't they use the sister on the playground scenes where it's like the alternate version? And that's what I'm saying. That's why they should have done a scene like that with Kyle Reese, like the alternate version. Because, like, I think I could be wrong about this. She could be in regular clothes, but isn't she, like, even in like, her fucking old school waitress uniform? And it's supposed to be like if Sarah Connor never knew Judgment Day was going to happen, and she's just like a weird nightmare flashback where she's on a playground when the nuclear holocaust happens.
She has like a wig on from the first movie too.
But that same like weird fucking ripped face. Yeah, it's really weird. I like how.
Well, I want to talk.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Aaron.
I was gonna say I like how Zach was dropping that factoid, but because we're not in real time here, because when I brought that up when we were watching T2, you didn't know that she had a twin. So
I always knew that. You're trying to rewrite history now.
So he's rewriting history. It's gonna sound he's making it to where I'm gonna sound like the idiot on next week's episode. But he didn't know. I knew something Zach didn't. So
exactly.
Time travel. I just want to talk about Lance Henriksen right here because even though he's got a tiny part in this, I think he's technically like fourth build in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But Lance Henriksen, I guess kind of like the early version when they were putting the movie together, they initially contacted Arnold to try to be the hero because, you know, he was known as a hero because of Conan the Barbarian. Mm-hmm. And Lance Henriksen really, and there's even, I don't know where you can find it now, but I had this dank ass, really nice. I got it for Christmas, like 2 movie VHS box set that came in this whole giant case with this big art book and shit. There's actually original artist drawings of Lance Henriksen as the Terminator with like half the face gone because he had auditioned for it and he really wanted the part. Like he even did all this weird shit. Like he came in with a leather jacket and he put tinfoil on his teeth and all this shit to try to look like a robot. And like,
yeah, when they were trying to shop it to distributors to buy the movie, he'd show up with James Cameron dressed as the Terminator.
Yeah, and like, you know, him and Cameron were in tight, and Cameron was really into the idea, but it wasn't until, you know, Arnold was like, okay, like I'm interested in the movie, but I want to play the Terminator, then everything, you know, went the way it did.
Well, we'd be remiss not to bring up, I think a lot of people know by now, but the first choice was O.J. Simpson to play the Terminator.
And they said no because they thought he looked too nice. No one would buy him as a fucking cold-blooded killer.
He was the Wheaties. He was commercials and stuff like that. He was the all-American, right? Poster boy. Like, no one wants to see him. Yeah, they couldn't see him as a killer.
The juice was loose.
I thought that was
also, too, I couldn't imagine OJ being that good of an actor, to be honest.
I mean, Arnold wasn't either, right? So, like,
he's in the Naked Gun movies.
But I'm saying he would have had to deliver just as much as Arnold. I think anybody could have did it. You just had to, I think, honestly, you just had to have the stature. You just had to be a big, intimidating looking dude. And that would have been enough.
I don't think OJ, whatever it would have been, 6-7 years after his retirement from football, even when he was playing football, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't think he even come close to having the stature that Arnold did. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, yeah, and now that we have Arnold to look at as far as to compare to, but I mean, regardless, the average person wasn't going to go up and spit in O.J. Simpson's face in the 80s. Still, but.
No, but unstoppable killing machine. If you're going
to be fair, they wouldn't spit in his face today, knowing what he did either. So even if he's old,
I wouldn't even spit in O.J. because I want to hang out with him. He seems like a cool guy.
He's got a great Twitter account.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No. But go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. I was gonna say something about that guy that was standing behind Sarah Connor while she got the phone call. It looked like a time traveling fucking what's his name, Ben Affleck. But it's not funny anymore because it's past.
Yeah, when Aaron said this movie is special because it's so 80s, I think this nightclub that they created, Tech Noir, is like perfect for the 80s.
It's obligatory, man. So many of these movies in the 80s had to have this 80s nightclub scene.
Apparently they built the Tech Noir just for the movie.
It's cool.
Yep, they did.
But it stayed there. It's like a jewelry shop now or something.
Interesting. Yeah, because I know the name they came up with is, because this was a technology thriller.
Yeah.
Noir from film noir.
Tech noir was like, it was coined as like, oh, that's the kind of genre this movie is. Like fucking Blade Runner and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny when you're talking about time traveling, how you messed up that this was supposed to be the last or everything was shooting out of order. This actually gave me a flashback to the movie Graveyard, actually. When we started, this was the first episode we ever released and still one of our most downloaded episodes every single week.
Really?
But ironically, we time traveled too, guys, because our first episode was actually Beverly Hills Cop and it kind of sucked. So we went back and we were like, we can't put this out as the first one. So we did Terminator. And in the beginning, we even did like a whatever comedy skit intro when we talked about we got to travel back in time to do another episode.
I remember that now, yeah.
Yeah. So that's where all that came from. It's so like weird because I was like, when you said we were doing this, I was like, damn, that was our first episode. Like, it's cool actually getting to do a second commentary for a movie you love so much, and then all that kind of shit happened, and it's all the same. It's time traveling. What do you call it? Butterfly wing memories.
Oh yeah.
I you know what? This movie. Speaking of being a favorite, I think this movie, all the little subgenres it blends, I would say it's one of the best, if not better than most. It's better than a lot of sci-fi movies. I think it's better than most slasher movies, even if you want to like throw it into that category. It's one of the best noir movies. All these little things you want to throw it into. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I would put it toe to toe with the original Halloween.
Yeah,
I could probably watch this more than Halloween, to be honest with you, if that says something.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's genuinely scary. It's definitely a horror movie. I would call it a horror movie.
I poked holes in the whole like Skynet. They couldn't show him a picture, but really, this is a good setup for the movie. Like, oh, he's going around killing all the Sarah Connors. That adds some.
That's what I'm saying, man. They just decided to do something and didn't think too much about it because it's a great setup. It's just don't make it too big.
They do explain it though, because like when there's a whole thing of like, when she's in the bar earlier eating or whatever, not Technor, but that other one she was in. And like, she realizes like, all these Sarah Connors are being killed. Like, they do explain it when Reese, whatever, that, the records were destroyed in the nuclear war or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Which that's would be really hard for us to swallow, like right now. But when you think in 1984 terms, how little of people's data was entered in a computer. So like if everything was paper records back then, which it was, Like the nuclear war really would wipe everything out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And they also explain, like, oh yeah, if I did have a picture, it would have just got destroyed as I'm coming back in time, because anything that's not, like part of a living tissue will just get incinerated or whatever. Which they actually, like, there's a part in the movie where, they're doing the whole thing at the police station, and they're talking to Kyle Reese, and the guy asks a really good question. He's like, Kyle Reese explains it like, yeah, I couldn't bring any weapons or anything because they would have just, they would have disappeared whenever I came through time, because anything that's not human will, fuck up. And then the guy asks like, well, you said that the Terminator is he's got living flesh, but he's a metal, machine. How does that? But then they turn the TV off, and like, yeah, I was reading in the trivia that like, yeah, they made that part of the rules just as a way to like not have to, make it too complicated, because like, yeah, if he could just bring a gun, this wouldn't last very long.
Hey, and to piggyback off what you were just saying though about, it's a really good setup for him to have to look I think also this movie just couldn't have been made 20 to 30 years later, because we just saw that scene where he was rifling through the name and address book and the Rolodex, all that shit. Can you imagine if they sent back the Terminator in 2004, 2014 or whatever, and he's just sitting there on whitepages.com on a PC? It's not nearly as exciting.
Isn't that weird too? That like, 2004 doesn't seem that long ago, but it was only 20 years. Like this movie seems ancient. Like this movie seems like at this point it's almost like 50 years old. But like,
yeah, that opening shot of the movie is like 8 years from now, guys.
Yeah, like, but it's just crazy where it's just like when you think about how much 1984 seems ancient in terms of technology. But, just 20 years later, 2004, everything had changed. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of little things, but for the most part, everything we have now was around in 2004.
It's funny, I was going to joke and say, like, well, yeah, if this movie came out now, instead of a machine sent back in time, it would be like an app that just collects data. And then I was like, wait, that's the plot of fucking Genesis, isn't it?
Genesis.
I don't think in 2004 we had smartphones yet, and smartphones and apps and social media. I mean, MySpace was around. I think it's changed quite a bit, though. The smartphone changed the game. So whenever I think the first smartphone came out, like the first Palm Pre or the first, whatever the first I don't remember the first smartphone was, a couple years later. In 2004, I think people were still rocking the Razors, right? And shit like that. But when the smartphone came out, that changed everything, man, because apps and dating apps and social media apps, it just had an impact everywhere else. So whenever that, I would say, maybe the first iPhone. When was that? I don't fucking know.
28, I think.
Yeah, but the thing is like what I'm saying is the way we used it changed, but ironically, like
it existed.
Yeah, it existed, and like I mean, a Razor could have run Facebook and all that shit but the phone would have cost like $3,000 back then. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, those Nokias. Remember those?
Yeah, Nokias were dope. I always love this scene because Arnold accidentally takes out, like, obviously he don't give a fuck, he's a Terminator, but he takes out like so many innocent people in this fucking nightclub, just shooting everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And I like that derpy face he had when he was opening fire a second ago when he shot at the bar. It was pretty funny.
And just like when he go on a couple scenes back when he killed the roommate, like the Terminator shoots a girl who's running away, shoots her in the back, like.
Brutal.
James Cameron would never do that now. Like, I mean, I love James Cameron, but he's pussed out so much.
Yeah, I mean, I like his stance on making strong female characters, but he's a super uber femme and pussy. I mean, he's too PC. I can't imagine him wanting to even portray an animal getting hurt on a film anymore. No. Yeah. He's lost it. But you know what, though? It's easy for me to think of James Cameron that way now, but, he really doesn't have that big of a filmography, and most of it's damn good. It's just the fact that he hasn't really made much in the last 20 fucking years or whatever. But, I mean, where does the buck stop? I even like Titanic. Titanic even has its merits, right? Even though it's a shift. But
you know what the best thing about Titanic was?
The tits, right?
Yeah.
That first tape, you just fast forward to the end of the tape and then rewind it a little bit and you get right to that scene with the titties. Like you knew right where to go when you wanted to jack off.
Well,
exactly.
When I watch fucking The Abyss, to me it's like that set up the groundwork for both T2 and Titanic, because him doing The Abyss and all the research for all that shit is what sparked his love for underwater and the Titanic and stuff. So that was the beginning of that too, and it made him realize I can do a movie about this. Because I think he did a Titanic documentary after that, in between the movie and After the Abyss and shit like that, where he narrated.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the start of a lot. And Titanic, it feels like James Cameron, but it also feels like a very different movie for him. But I still like it. And then what happened after that? We just had Avatar. So it's like...
Yeah. Water ended his career.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's weird. It's like, it's easy to say, wow, James Cameron's been shit for 15, 20 years, but he's only made one movie in 15, 20 years. So he still has a pretty good record for me. I just wish he would blow everybody's minds and just make an action movie again. Even if it's like True Lies. Make a movie like True Lies. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Apparently this guy on the cop radio here is one of the other writers or the something for the movie. Yeah.
William Wisher, yeah. He co-wrote part 2. I think he was involved with this one too, but yeah, they came back to collaborate again for T2.
Isn't that that guy? I've never actually paid attention to his face but doesn't he have a cameo in part 2 as well? Doesn't he play one of the guards in the prison when she's escaping?
Maybe.
He looks just like one of the guys that fucking Terminator throws against the glass, or you know what I'm saying? And you know when she's trying to escape and all that shit? I swear he's one of those guys. That gets a fucking baton to the face or something.
He probably is.
Yeah.
They probably brought him back.
No, I watched Sky or the newest one. What's it called? Deepfake.
Dark Fate.
Deepfake.
Terminator
Yeah.
Deepfake. Yeah.
Woke Fate.
I watched that, and I was granted I was at Mac's house. We planned to do we're gonna do some drunken commentaries this weekend. So we were waiting for someone to come over, like a friend of his, and we kind of spaced it out. So I looked at how much longer the movie had, and it was like an hour. And I was like, yeah, this is usually whenever I start getting drunk, because it takes about an hour to kick in. So we're about an hour, or that movie's like 2 hours, so we're an hour into it, and there's another hour, and then another 40 minutes in, I'm starting to get a little drunk, and I'm like, wait a minute, wasn't there weren't people really pissed off that this movie was really anti-male or something?
Mm-hmm.
What is that all about? Because I was granted I was drunk, but I didn't notice anything.
Really quick, where did Arnold's eyebrows go in the scene?
Yeah, they got burned off.
Yeah.
I remember when Reese shoots it, that whole thing is like a masterclass in editing, that whole build up to that Tech Noir shootout and then the alleyway chase. But yeah, Reese shoots the gas tank of a car, and then when Arnold comes out, his eyebrows are supposed to be singed off, and they actually put acid on the back of his jacket to make it smoke, and then the acid actually started eating through, getting to his skin a little bit too.
Cool.
Apparently, he actually got insurance for his eyebrows because he wasn't sure that they'd grow back.
Oh, they really shaved him off? I thought that was like a prosthetic.
Yeah, apparently. That's what I read.
It looks pretty real, yeah.
I mean, yeah, why not? They would grow back fast. I mean, it's not exactly that tall in order. It's not like Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf got his whole fucking body tattooed for this new movie.
Yeah, I know.
I heard if you get your eyebrows, if you take them off, there is a possibility they won't grow back. I've heard that.
Oh, that's scary.
It's probably after a certain age, though. I bet if you're young, because when I was young, my eyebrows were all bushy and shit, and I was always shaving them, tweezing them, whatever. And now it's I haven't done anything to them in years, and they're not nearly as bushy as when I was young. I think once you get past a certain age, you might have that danger if you shave them off. But.
Which Jackass movie was it where Steve-O shaved all the hair off his body?
I don't
know. It was 1 or 2. It was one of the early ones.
Yeah, it's definitely not 3 because that's the one I watched. That one's not very good. It's probably 2.
Going back to Dark Fate, I don't think the movie is really that bad with a whatever anti-male, whatever female, whatever message. I just think the marketing, the early teaser photo and then Tim Miller running his mouth. It's that thing where I see it with a lot of these movies. Before the movie comes out, it's almost they want to poison the well. Supposed to, they want to tell you that their feminist agenda is so strong and all this, and then you just watch the movie and you're like, oh yeah, it's nothing. It's just, yeah, the cast happens to be 98% female, but I mean, there's really no statement to be made here. You know what I mean?
The statement I took away from it was in the twist, and which, by the way, was a terrible twist because we saw it the whole. Yeah. We didn't even realize I thought this was almost a given, but then when they actually treated it like it was a twist, wait, we weren't supposed to know that was coming. But I took it as, don't you get it? You are the savior. You're not going to bear a savior. It's basically we don't need no man to be the savior. Because we're supposed to be believing that you have to, your only purpose in life is to bear the son that's going to save the man. But yeah, that I took it as pretty heavy-handed at that point, at least. But
I just took that as the only change they made to fucking remaking the original movie.
it was a bad twist. Yeah, regardless of any subtext, it was just a shitty twist. It wasn't good. In her scenes where they were showing as her as the resistance leader.
Dude, wait, she looks so hot with blood in her mouth, though.
Okay.
She does.
But that scene, though, I don't even remember her name, the new female John Connor, when they were showing those resistance scenes.
Dani Ramos.
They were terrible. Like, I didn't buy it for a second. Like, you do not come off as a badass to me. You know, nothing. Like, Linda Hamilton in part 2 was a badass. Like, it was just fucking I don't know. It was so fucking bad.
Because she actually put in the effort to get muscles, and they just, they CGI somebody in a...
Dialogue was shitty. Everything about it was shitty. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't really like anybody in that movie. I didn't think the actors were good. I didn't think any of the two new female chicks were good.
They both sucked.
The Terminator was fine. I mean, like Diego Luna's his name. I mean, whatever. I have nothing against him.
Arnold's story arc was, to me, was the exact duplicate of Genesis as well. It's like, oh, he grew up to become a father.
But you know what, though? That was probably the most interesting part of the movie. I'd rather have seen a movie about what he's been doing the last fucking 30 years. Like, that was more interesting. Where he's like talking while he's having fucking a glass of Crystal Light on the porch. But like, yes, I met this woman that opened the drapery business. And I'd rather see that movie at this point. Like, let me see that fucking weird ass fucking tale about him just having to get a job.
Oh, yeah.
I have a problem with Arnold being in Terminator movies where he's not a Terminator, where he's not badass, basically. He's just there to remind you, oh, yeah, he once was an awesome kick-ass killing machine, and now he's just like a guy who's old in the movie. Well, like, I get tired of that. And
it's weird because his part in that movie was a high point and the weakest point at the same time, because I hate how Arnold, whenever he's in a movie these days, and especially if he's in a Terminator movie, they treat him as the source of comic relief.
Yeah.
Now, on one side of the coin, it is funny. Like, I thoroughly actually enjoy the scenes he's in. That's because that's Arnold. He's charismatic. We just like him. But on the other side of the coin, this shouldn't be in a Terminator movie. This shouldn't be the high point. This is not what I want. Like, what happened to that guy from T1 or even T2? I think the biggest crime of the biggest thing that did not pay off, that you could tell they wanted it to pay off so bad, but it didn't, was that end, right? Where they were trying to make it as heartwarming as the ending of T2, right? They were trying to hit that same emotional punch that they had in T2 where John's crying and he gives the thumbs up. Dude, that fucking just strikes all the chords. They tried to do the same thing, for John, and it fell so fucking flat. I'm like, I feel nothing with this.
Do it for Johnny.
For John.
Also, too, I hate it, just like how you said it, with that like, oh, duh, really twist ending. Also, too, I hated the way they treated the girl Grace or whatever it was, the bionic girl. Like, I liked how Tim Miller's doing this whole press tour being all badass about how terrible the sequels were, and he's disavowing them all, yet he's plucking little things from each one. Like, all that shit about Sarah Connor being like, what the fuck are you? How can you do this? What are these scars? That was all the same shit they did with Sam Worthington's bionic ass in Salvation as well. Like, they just fucking cherry picked everything from parts 3 through 5 and put them in 6, and then fucking Tim Miller, the visionary director of Deadpool, is like running around talking about, I got James Cameron's blessing. It's like, James Cameron had nothing to do with that movie. He was too busy like lording over whatever Battle Alita to do anything on Terminator Woke Fate.
See, I thought basically, and maybe I just don't know, I didn't watch any documentaries or featurettes, but I thought Tim Miller was more or less like a director for hire, and nothing was going to get passed without James Cameron. Like, he was putting his blessings on everything, because James Cameron wrote this. I don't think he wrote the script, but he wrote the overall story, and he had to approve the script. And I thought he was definitely a backseat driver the whole time. I don't know. Maybe he just turned a blind eye.
Yeah, it all came unraveled there, and that was like the narrative they were trying to sell you like a year before the movie came out. But then when it came out,
to give it some credibility, yeah.
Well, not only that, but when it came out and flopped, and Tim Miller came out and was like, well, you know what, me and James, we really didn't work together at all, because right off the bat, we had a bad working relationship. Like, they tried to make it sound like Cameron had all this control, and then it was basically once him and Tim Miller, and I mean, you can look it up. It's the interviews and comments Tim Miller made like after the fact when the movie came out and bombed, was like pretty much they didn't see eye to eye, so Cameron was like, okay, yeah, go make your shitty movie, and like walked away. Like, and like, to me, that was like, because there was this, after Genesis pissed a lot of people off, there was this huge hype. Cameron's getting the rights back. to me, this outing and the way he just walked away after some more, and if you really think about it, how involved do you think Cameron's going to be with the movie starring his ex-wife who took all his Titanic money? You know what I mean? Like, the guy just has no interest.
Dude, she's living off the fat of the land in like Georgia on some fucking like estate or something. I mean, she lives in the middle of nowhere now on some fucking plantation or what. It's pretty cool, but yeah, she doesn't want anything to do with this life anymore. She got that fucking paycheck and she's gone.
I mean, Cameron's barely interested in making movies as it is. Like, he wanted to make Battle Alita for so long, but then when it came really down to it, he just, like, you know...
pitched it off, yeah.
Yeah, he did his producer thing. And, like, you know how everybody's like, oh, he's just so committed to Avatar. It's like, yeah, he's gonna make Avatar, but, like, dude, when you have a burning, itching desire to make something, it don't take you 12 years to make the first sequel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, and I remember before he announced the sequels to Avatar, he said, I'm just going to do documentaries from here on out. I'm not going to direct any more movies. And has he done any documentaries in this past like 12 whatever years too? Has he?
No more Ghosts of the Abyss, nothing. He had his hands in a loose producing role, I want to say, in movies. Like, I know that Sanctum movie, and I can't remember quite if he was a producer on Everest or not. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe I'm misremembering on that one. But I want to say, maybe I'm wrong. There might have been like a space, like Hubble telescope type documentary that maybe he had a hand in. But yeah.
Well, my not so hot take on what could have been with Dark Fate, even if the movie was made well, even if it was fucking amazing, with the same ridiculous budget of around $300 million, I think it still made as much money as it was going to make because there's Terminator fatigue.
Yeah.
Just too much. But had they made it stripped down and they made it fucking amazing and made it for like 50 million to 100 max, it would be a hit with the money it raked in. And then it would be a critical darling and everything would be so great. And then it would have better press. I think it just would have been a way different. I don't know why they get certain people to make movies, because there has to be somebody in Hollywood, even if he's like a young hip director, that is a fucking Terminator fan, that's our age, that grew up with these movies, that's hungry, and that would have made the movie better, or a writer or something like that. Tim Miller, he's a Hollywood guy now. He's made his hits. I mean, I don't know, the way you see him in interviews, he doesn't really talk. He seems like a director for hire. He doesn't seem like he's a big fucking fan or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
To me, he's like the guy who like does the interviews where like he goes to the comic book shop and he does an interview standing there and shit. And like after Deadpool came out, I see one of his interviews where like he goes to the comic shop. You know, it was one of those things where it's like, go to the comic shop and show us what you're going to buy. And he walks up to the thing with his 50 pile of books and like he turned the camera off and he probably says, I don't really want these.
Yeah. No, exactly. If they would have went the Neil Blomkamp route with what he wanted to do with Alien and his whole pitch of making that seemed genuine. And I hate that got scrapped. I kind of hope Disney sparks some interest with that now that they've acquired Fox, and they maybe give him a phone call after Fox kicked him to the curb. Like, no, we're going to make more Ridley Scott pieces of shit. Like, what? Even though it makes no sense, we're going to keep this train going. But when he was basically campaigning to do that, there was a lot of heart there. I'm like, I buy it. Like, this guy probably was super influenced by it. And I know he wasn't a new kid on the block, but the movies that he had made up until that point, the few flicks, I mean, they vary in quality, but they're all very much true to a tone. They're very sci-fi. And I'm like, I would be very interested in seeing this guy's movie. So I think they should have went to someone like him and not a Neil Blomkamp. Fucking Tim Miller. But
yeah, I'm just tired of Tim Miller and like his interview about the Grace character, and it's gonna scare the shit out of some closet misogynists because we don't trade feminine traits for strong ones. It's like, dude, like, we get it. You chopped her hair up. She's tough. We get it.
But who were they attacking? Terminator fans who embrace Linda Hamilton as a strong female protagonist?
Yeah.
Like, who's he attacking?
Like this is not the franchise to walk in the door and say, I'm the inventor of feminist female action heroes. Like, dude, James Cameron did it in 1984. Get off your high fucking horse.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously Ridley Scott did it first with Sigourney Weaver, but he took it to the umpteenth power with Aliens, right? With Sigourney Weaver's character. Yeah. She was like very much like a Sarah Connor type badass. Yeah, the whole thing's very weird to me. I just think it's a missed opportunity. I would kill, man. I mean, I'm not saying I'm shit or you're shit or whatever, but please, somebody just pay me $10,000 to take a best crack at a Terminator sequel, and I'll do it.
They did the same thing with the newest Halloween movie. Like, I remember people saying, like, yeah, did you notice all the survivors are women? It's like, it's a slasher movie. They're always it's always women that survive these movies.
Yeah.
But did you guys hear any of the stories about Arnold apparently being like a kind of a prima donna on the set of this movie?
No, this was peak.
The original Terminator?
Yeah. This was peak cocky Arnold, right? This is peak,
all the stuff screams cocky. Like, apparently he allegedly delayed the start of filming for a couple days because he didn't think his custom made leather jacket was manly enough. And apparently there's like an interview out there of him while he's still like, I don't know if he's still in costume as Conan or like maybe it's after, but he's basically talking about like upcoming projects, and he's like, oh yeah, the Terminator, this shitty movie I'm doing. Like he seems really like he doesn't care about it, which apparently like more recently he's like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking saying that. Like,
I think he was probably still in the mindset of Mr. Universe, because have you seen Pumping Iron?
Yeah.
Right? How
he's sitting there.
He's super cocky the whole time, but that's kind of like what brought him to the top of that game, the shit talking and the uber confidence and in competition, a competitive sport. And the line was super blurred. Like, I think he retired, and then he even went back. Was it before Terminator that he went back again to get it for the 7th time, and then he stopped? He's like, okay, I need it one more time. Like, he was still very much in that mindset, and I just think the worlds were blending, because he was a cocky asshole. If you watch Pumping Iron, I think the only people it's funny to is the people watching the documentary. But if you probably knew him in real life, you're like, man, this guy's a fucking dick. I hate this guy.
It's sad when people hold that against people too, because like you can see like being that young and having that many people like think you're great would definitely make people cocky.
It would inflate your ego for sure. It's Kanye West, right?
Luckily, they grow out of it. Yeah.
Did you, by the way, have you guys seen that fucking video of? I'm so sorry. I know this is kind of a sidetrack. Speaking of cocky, there was that video of Kanye West when he made an appearance at Joel Osteen's mega church in Houston. Have you guys seen that?
I haven't.
He's on stage with Joel Osteen, and he's doing like a sermon, and he's talking about, because he had released that gospel album, and he's like a born again Christian. All of a sudden, he was insane, like, hey, I'm crazy, I'm not on my pills, now I'm a reformed born again Christian. He's such a metamorphosis, like, all the time, this guy. Anyway, he's on stage at this church, and they got the music playing in the background as he's giving his little sermon with Joel Osteen by his side, and he's saying, it's very interesting, he's like, that God created the greatest living artist of all time, and now the greatest living artist of all time is working for God. No, he worded it like, God has me working for. It was it was the weirdest fucking thing, and you can't believe it's real. And then he straight up interrupts somebody that's also giving the sermon, like the main, and he's like, excuse me, I know, I appreciate what you're saying, but what I'm having a creative stream of consciousness right now, so if you could just not interrupt me while I'm praising God and telling these people, like, dude, get the fuck.
He did the I'm gonna let you finish meme again.
Oh my God, it's like you can't believe the guy's real. Like, is he off his meds still? I don't know.
Apparently,
I just can't believe people are still kissing his ass all these years later. Like, he's not that powerful influentially musically. He's just like a tabloid celebrity at this point.
I think, he's become like a lot of hip hop people. He's an entrepreneur. His Yeezys are real popular. I think the general consensus is the guy is talented, but fuck, not to the degree that he thinks, because he is. I think he's like a lot of those guys, like your Yoko, those people that get so far up their own ass to where some of their stuff is like,
he never grew out of that Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, some of their stuff is really good. It's like, wow, this is really ahead of the curve for when it came out. But then they start believing their own hype, and they release some stuff where it's like, this is not art. This is just trash.
Poopity scoop.
Yeah, it's like shit. Like, what the fuck? But you listen to like Black Skinhead. That's a fucking good song. But then he has like Poopity Scoop.
We talked over the great effect that I think like they had some confidence in that. They just filmed it head on, like no cuts, like
no hidden cuts, nothing.
It's awesome though.
I mean, you can tell it's fake now, but I think it still looks good.
It's fun to watch. Like, it's never fun to watch even the most convincing CGI thing, because it's just like animation. But like that was literally the scene everybody talked about. Like, when you were a kid in this movie, like that was everybody's favorite scene, where he fixes the servos in his wrist, and then when he cuts out his eye and puts the sunglasses over.
Earlier in the movie too, he mentioned that, like, oh yeah, the first models of the Terminator, we could tell right away because they were made with their skin was like rubber. But then they started making them with like real human tissue, and it was harder to tell. So I was thinking like, oh, that's probably what they look like then.
Exactly.
Just that scene.
Well, not only that, but like once his at this point, he's got dozens of bullet holes in him. He sustained a head-on, 60-mile-an-hour crash into a head wall. Like, even as a kid, I always thought, okay, he's living, breathing tissue. It's like once it starts getting torn up, isn't it like rotting and decaying to some degree?
And shouldn't he be, and also too, shouldn't he be bruising and shit and swelling in certain parts of his body? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that.
That's reminiscent of that scene in part 2 where Linda Hamilton like completely outacts Sean Bean in that scenario.
Sean Bean?
She really outacts Sean Bean because he's never been in a Terminator movie.
Michael Bean.
Sean Bean's that guy that dies in every movie.
Yeah.
And he's a meme.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, even like the side characters of the cops in this movie are more entertaining than anybody in like the new Terminator movies. Like, the new one, like, I got so tired of people screaming nonstop, Donnie Ramos is so important. Don't you know where Donnie Ramos is? Like, everybody was screaming out Donnie Ramos, but like, she's like the most boring, flat character. Meanwhile, like, these guys who are like the third cop in the background of the police station or just the tiny part of the police station psychiatrist, like, these fucking guys are fascinating. Like,
well, that's why a lot of these movies back in the day were really cool like that, because not even just I like this movie because of that. I really love the first Alien movie because of that, because you like all the secondary characters. They're all cool and they all have their own identity. None of them are cast by the wayside, no matter how small their part might be. And even like action movies of the 80s were like that. I mean, you could watch a movie like Beverly Hills Cop or whatever, and you like all the little characters they threw out in it. And yeah, a lot of these newer movies, man, they could give two shits about really developing anybody outside of whoever they're selling on the marquee.
I like the scene, how it's set up, because like basically they're telling her like, yeah, Kyle Reese, he's fucking crazy. And you could tell like, oh, that definitely, like, she wants to believe that, because it's like, yeah, that's a load off my mind. But then like, how the fuck, how would he have known my name? How do you kind of just know that this guy was gonna, like, there's things about it that didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
That cop receptionist kind of looks like Edward James Olmos to me, like young. Well, not right there, but when he looks dead on, I'll be back.
Yeah, I'll be back. Which wasn't even meant to be like a catchphrase, but like
the "I will be back" thing, that whole thing.
Yeah. Like, I love the part where he's walking in and like they frame it so like this guy's like walking out checking his beeper. Like, it's cool that they hold on that moment where it's like this fucking guy that just got done saying that, it's technically impossible for the Terminator to exist. He literally walks by the Terminator and doesn't even fucking know it.
He just slips right in behind him.
Yeah. And like, yeah, like this is probably like, I still think like this. See, like, Aaron, what you're talking about, taking it back to basics. Like, to me, this level of action that's in this movie, if you want to make a visceral action movie, it should be shit like this. Like, people just being blown away over and over. Like, we don't need to see driverless crane trucks flying off of docks and bridges like every 10 minutes. Like, excite us as an audience. Like, if you're doing your job of like writing a good story, establishing your characters, the action, it's not about how big the action is. It's like, what is the emotional payoff of the action? Yeah,
and I think when I watch Dark Fate, it's like they just went to the school of Fast and Furious action, because that's what action movies are today, right? Fast and Furious, CGI car chases and stuff like that, and explosions. Like, no, this is action. I think, and Dark Fate, I've mentioned it before. Sorry, I think that they had an R rating. Right, they had it because was Genesis R or was that PG-13? Did they fucking puss out, or was that the fourth one?
There was two in a row that was PG-13, Salvation, and Genesis were PG-13.
So I think it's like they went for the R, and I don't know if they were really kind of marketing that. I think Arnold was like, yeah, it's R-rated, it's good. Okay,
this movie will make the Terminator look like
a babysitter. That's what he said. That's what he said about Mr. Freeze.
Yeah. So we're going for the R rating once again, but I'm going to spend half of my screen time petting a dog.
but they didn't even capitalize on their R rating. If you're going to be a mindless action, because I still don't think, I think Dark Fate is a lot like H4O, where even before the movie came out, it was all but guaranteed to be the best Halloween movie since, 3 or 4, depending on who you ask, or 2, whatever, it's like, but that's not exactly hard to accomplish with what it's going up against. I knew Dark Fate was going to be the best movie since the second one, but how close was it going to get to the second one was the question. And I still think it's technically the best one since the second one, because it's a mindless action movie. I could watch it right now. I'm not going to get a lot out of it. I was able to finish it. I didn't exactly fall asleep. Whatever. But if you're going to be a mindless action movie, I was kind of hoping at least they would just go hard on the R rating, man. And a lot of those kills that Diego Luna's Terminator was doing, the way they angled it, like there was so many things I wish they would have done. Like, well, he could have did this here. He could have did this here. Like, I mean, don't be afraid to fucking take off a head. But it seemed like all his kills were like him coming at us towards the camera and then stabbing someone in the stomach and we can't see any of it. Like, what? Like, just fuck. There was that scene where he's going through La Migra, where he's going through like that whole like what do they call it? What do you call that? The border place, where they got all the people trying to cross the border. Yeah,
the immigration patrol. Yeah,
that's where he should have tore major ass, and he kind of was, but they weren't showing you anything. Like, what the fuck, man?
Because Tim Miller, he wasn't trading the feminine traits for the strong ones. He was being very feminist and not showing. It's just
Is that Lorne Michaels talking?
Yeah. No, it's Tim Miller with the dick in his mouth. Like, I just can't stand these guys who they talk this big fucking shit. Like, no, you stupid fucking plebe fans. This is what we're doing. It's so great. And it's like, you can talk all your shit how you created the greatest, like, female action hero if you make a fucking awesome movie, but don't give us limp dick like retreads of bullshit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like you were saying, like all the people in the background, like they're way more like interesting. I was trying, like it's because like a real writer wrote this movie, and like somebody that had like full. He believed in it, and like everybody that like because they didn't have a lot of money making this, so everybody that was on board believed in it too. And then like movies now they go through a conveyor belt of different writers writing the script. And
correct me if I don't remember correctly, but wasn't that the case with Dark Fate, where James Cameron got the story credit, but then it had like the script itself had like fucking 50 people?
Yeah.
I'll never understand why people think that's the most efficient way of working. But
it's just the most corporate way of working. That's who makes these movies, corporations.
Well, it's like when they give a script to a comedian for a punch up. Like, here, we just want you to make this, inject some comedy in here. They probably take a script and they probably give it to a guy that specializes in PC shit. Like, hey, now will you PCify this? Like, okay, let's give it to this guy who can make it funny. All right, will you do this and will you amp up the violence? Yeah, they like have a guy that's good at little different things, like you said, a conveyor belt or an assembly line. Like, what about a writer that can do all this shit and just write a story? I don't understand, but.
Like, honestly, getting back to ranking the terrible sequels, like, to me, like, I kind of don't get too bent out of shape, because to me, T1 and T2 are one cohesive story, and the rest are, like, because they all seem so different, they feel so weird to me, they're all, like, spin-off alternate timelines that got created when Skynet fucked shit up. But 3's, like, the only one that bothers me. Like, I have 4 and 5 on Blu-ray, and I'll buy Dark Fate once it, like, goes to, like, $8 on Black Friday. But, like, as bad as, like, 4, 5, and 6 are, like, I can take those movies as weird, alternate, spin-off whatevers. They're enjoyable as shitty, whatever, action movies. Like, I mean, they don't really get my blood boiling.
That's the way I saw Genesis. I just took it as a fanfic. Like, this is like a YouTube fan movie, and that's the way I went into it. And I didn't hate it as much because I didn't take it seriously. But, yeah, continue.
Well, I thought the first 20 minutes of Genesis were cool.
It's
like,
fan service, yeah. It's like a fanfic.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, I like the idea that they're fucking up the original timeline doing shit.
That chick from fucking what's it called? That show?
Game of Thrones. Amelia Clarke, but she didn't.
She's a babe.
But she did not. She wasn't selling it for me though. As cute as she is.
See, I liked it though. Like, I don't know why. Like, not that she looks exactly like Lena Hamilton, but to me, she reminded me of Sarah Connor. I just had a problem with, like, why do you get Jai Courtney, this big bohunk motherfucker, to play Kyle Reese, who's supposed to be, like, starving and living off of rats for years and years? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But to me, Terminator probably should have been a trilogy, and I think you should have always had it come full circle, especially with, like, what happens in T2. To me, to me, the most sellout thing they ever did in the entire franchise was after T2 worked so well and Arnold was a good guy, reprogrammed, they just did that over and over and over, and they're still doing it.
Yeah, the third one definitely should have been back to a bad guy. They should have.
Yeah, he should have been a bad guy, and the movie should have been about John Connor as an adult finally have to face the Terminator on his own. And it's like, you could have done something really cool where, like, he actually gets killed at the end in fucking Judgment Day and, like, all the Terminators in the future take over. But I mean, either way, like, John Connor as a character, like, he never really had a resolution, because, like, even in part 3, which is supposedly all about John Connor, it's really about him meeting his wife who helps him with the resistance. It's not really about John Connor becoming John Connor.
Mm-hmm. No. Speaking about John, I think this is we're we're basically talking about John Connor never got his due. I want to go back to Dark Fate really quick. So I knew he got fucking whacked at the beginning because I read the spoilers. Because back when they had test screenings, that leaked way early. Like it leaked fucking, I felt like a year before the movie came out. And I believed him. And I was even telling Mac and Zach, right? I was telling you guys that I read it and it sounds pretty legit to me. You know, it did happen. But and the whole fucking story leaked, man. So I was waiting for it, but it didn't prepare me, even though I knew it was coming, for how they did it. In my mind, even when I heard the spoilers, I was creating a scenario that I was hoping they would do it in that was still respectful. And because they remember the spoiler was they confirmed Eddie Furlong's in it. I'm like, okay, is he really? But this is what I was hoping. They could have killed him at the beginning. I was hoping the intro was going to be more extended. Like, give us a long scene at the beginning, and it be, if we're in an alternate timeline, let it be Edward Furlong after Judgment Day, right? Because remember, in Judgment Day, Linda Hamilton, him, they were like superheroes, but they stopped Judgment Day. Wouldn't he have gone back to normal life? Like, what if the movie started off Dark Fate, Eddie Furlong, as we know him now, it would make total sense why he looks like a total methed out fucking fat guy, right? Because his life became mundane. It wasn't special. He maybe it starts off with him in an office. He's working a brain dead corporate job. He's out of shape. He's fucking got bags under his eyes. And that's when the Terminator comes fucking 20 years later and just knocks him off in an office or something. Or we have a whole scene where he gets to show off some acting chops and run from this thing, like a whole fucking scene of this, you know what I mean? Like they could have did something so much more cool and respectful to the character and the actor, and it would have been satisfying. I would have been satisfied, and it would have made me feel more for the movie that was coming after, right? I just think, but instead of being insulted.
The way they did it seemed like just the sequel to the next horror movie, like the next slasher movie. Like, oh yeah, Adrienne King, she lives the first movie, she dies in the first 5 minutes of this next movie. Like, it's just one of those.
Yep. And also, too, like, the de-aged Arnold, like, he wasn't even cool. Wasn't he wearing, like, a Hawaiian shirt or something? Like, he just...
No, he was in full biker. He looked like T2.
Okay.
Yes.
I was gonna say, I remember his CGI, like, looking like, I didn't think the kid looked like Furlong at all. I liked the Linda Hamilton. To me, she looked hot. But, yeah, the Arnold, like, he had, like, that 5 o'clock shadow. I thought he looked corny, but
did he?
But, I mean, again,
was he coming out of the water, though? Like, where the fuck did he come from? And then when he walked away?
No, he just was walking along the beach because that bar was, like, on the beach. Like, he was, like, clothed. But yeah, I don't think he walked out of the water.
What happened, though? I want to fill in the plot holes. So after all these witnesses watched a fucking roided out biker shotgun blast a child in broad daylight, and he just walks away slowly while Linda Hamilton is fading to black while she's crying over the body. What happened? Did the cops, they let this Terminator go off and have a drapery career and get married?
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. Which, by the way, like his face.
How does a guy that big just disappear? Yeah.
Well, his face was so in the system because they fucking
the Skynet, the videos, right? Yeah.
They had his pictures in T2, like
from the first movie. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. But like I said, I want to see those plot holes. I want to see him walking off the beach, getting into where does he go? Get into a car? Does he steal a car? Like, how does he get away? Yeah. It's broad daylight, tons of witnesses, which is so fucking... Cops would have been all over his ass. There would have been a giant fucking car chase, or they would have tracked him down. They would have probably put bullet holes in him. I don't know. Where did he go? It's just so weird to me.
Yeah, it was lame.
Kyle Reese says something in this movie. He's like, oh yeah, we use dogs to sniff out Terminators. They never use that in any of the sequels.
Yeah, never.
Or did they? Is there a part in like Salvation?
Well, T2, yeah, Wolfie was always... I'm rewatching the Woke Fate opening.
Oh yeah, I never even thought about that, but you're probably right, because I was thinking when you brought that up, I'm like, well, they didn't have Terminators in the year T2 was, so the dogs weren't trained. But yeah, Wolfie's the only dog. Yeah, I guess that probably was what that was.
Wolfie's actually named after James Cameron's actual dog that will make an appearance here in the movie soon, I think. Unless that was him and one of those dogs, but I think he's the one coming up later.
What were you saying, Go, before we went off on that?
No, I'm just saying I'm rewatching this. Yeah, Arnold comes up. He's got like a weird ass tan t-shirt on.
Yeah, I didn't think he was wearing biker gear.
Yeah. No, you know what? Because Zach's gonna hate it. But when I play Mortal Kombat, the new one 11, where they got Arnold in it, they modeled him after the Dark Fate, and one of the alternate costumes is that tan shirt. So that is right.
Yeah, the tan shirt with like khaki pants. Correct, and he has like soldier boots on, so at least that's like whatever. But I think what you're thinking of, Aaron, was how how the beginning of Genesis, when he saved Sarah Connor, he was in full biker gear there.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense, right? I don't.
Yeah, the young D.H. Arnold that saved Sarah Connor.
So
and like that's just like another remake of Genesis. Was they had the young D.H. Arnold in the beginning of that too.
they're writing out that little thing they did after T2 with the ride at the Universal Studios already. Because
Yeah.
I don't think that was ever canon.
oh, okay.
Was it? By the way,
It'd be awesome if it was.
I thought
James Cameron did it, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah, you know what's funny though is just a year ago or 2 years ago when they put all that money into restoring T2 and putting it back in theaters in 4K, right, in 3D. And if you guys have you seen the 4K goat of that?
No, I heard it's all waxy and DNR to death. I'm not a big fan of Cameron's modern remasterings.
Okay, so I concur. It is all those things, but it looks, I don't know, it still looks very fucking poppin', and it's vibrant as hell. Yeah. But it makes the CGI effects look a little bit more cartoony. And it's they of course go in and they change shit, right? They deep fake Arnold's face on all the shots of the stunt double, right? Mm-hmm. Which is off-putting because I used to love those stunt double shots, right? That they couldn't get away from.
It's a different guy, yeah.
Well, if they wanted to, the way they wanted to execute those action shots, no slow mo, there was no way they were going to avoid not having the guy's face. But yeah, they deep faked all that shit, and they airbrushed out Robert Patrick's dick, all these different things, which is kind of weird. But anyway, I
wonder if the modern remastering that they did a couple years ago of this one, because this is the first Blu-ray and there's a second one. I wonder if the second Blu-ray took out Arnold's dick, because like I was shocked. I was watching this at the beginning of the movie before I recorded it, and you could really see an HD Arnold's dick now.
He looked creepy as fuck.
Yeah, well, no, because I think I have both versions, and I don't think that's ever the case. Mm-hmm. But on I think on the newest one, the transfer's really good. And I was telling Zach on the T2 commentary, you see the dick really well, like way better than you ever could. Right, way better than they ever planned on you seeing it.
They should have got Pauly to play that part.
It's clear, yeah. That should have been Burt Young. No, they clearly were intending to shroud that cock in shadows. They weren't anticipating that transfers and shit were going to get so good in 30 years that
and lightened up.
Because you could see that cock and balls swinging like there's no tomorrow. Yeah. But no, what was I going to say about when they were going to all this trouble of putting all this money to do a true restoration, putting it back in theaters, and really actually doing a 3D like adjustment to it, because most people just put that shitty skin over it and call it 3D and it looks terrible. This actually looked good. I'm like, okay, are they going to make the Universal Studios ride like a special feature because it got retired a handful of years ago?
That's James Cameron's dog, Wolfie, right there.
It got the Universal Studios ride got retired a few years ago, so there's no way to see it anymore. I'm sure it's on YouTube, but you can't watch it you can't watch it in 3D. I'm like, are they going to take advantage of what they've done here and put it on there with the 3? And they didn't. And I thought that was kind of like an easy special feature to put in. But
They probably don't want to, because they had a team. The ride was a collaboration with Gary Goddard, who made Masters of the Universe and raped Anthony Edwards for years and years. So it's probably just another Me Too ride.
What?
Yeah.
No, whoa.
Look it up, dog.
Anthony Edwards? As in fucking John Connor's dad in Pet Sematary 2? As in we're just crossing 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon here? What the fuck?
Fuck me.
So there's this guy named Gary Goddard who he's been involved in show business in various capacities for a long way. And his most notable thing was he broke into directing doing the Masters of the Universe movie. But he was involved in the movie industry for quite a while. And apparently, according to Anthony Edwards, this guy started raping him when he was 12 and his friends around this time. And Anthony Edwards let this guy rape him for years. And basically what happened was there was some kind of accusation that finally came out about this dude. But in the meantime, probably I think since the early 90s, this guy he transferred into the from movies to the theme park business when Universal Studios got going. So he designed a lot of like the original Jurassic Park ride, T2. I can't remember the last really big one he did. So he's been running this company for many years that was doing these theme park rides. And there was some type of accusation that came out about this guy during the like right before the Me Too era that just got swept under the rug. So while Me Too was going on, Anthony Edwards came out and was like, no, like this dude is the real deal. Like, don't sweep this under the rug. And some magazine or something. He wrote a article where he gut wrenchingly talked about how he let this guy rape him for years and years and years. And, he doesn't name any other names, like when he says his friends, but if you look at some of the people Anthony Edwards was good friends with around this time, like
it makes sense.
It might have been some other high profile people, you know what I mean?
So this was I'm looking it up on USA Today. So this came out with the whole Me Too thing, right? Last year?
Like, I think 2018, I think, is when Anthony Edwards did his expose.
But now that I'm looking at this, it's all coming back to me, and I think it maybe resurfaced at least with the Me Too thing again. That's because I think I've read this.
Yeah.
But anyway, just briefly kind of go over this article. It says actor Anthony Edwards accused writer-producer Gary Goddard of molesting him in an essay, and there's a link for that essay that was published on Medium Friday. Edwards says he first met Goddard when he was 12 at the beginning of his acting career, which included roles in films like Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Revenge of the Nerds. He's best known for the 86 film Top Gun, blah, blah, blah. Dude, that's fucked up. And I'm looking at this guy, and he looks like a Gary Glitter motherfucker.
It's weird his name's Gary because he looks just like Gary Glitter, doesn't he?
Yeah, his fucking weird-ass hair and everything, and his affliction for touching children.
Well, that just goes to show you, if you're ever starting a theme park, hire a pedophile named Gary.
That's what they did. It's what they did.
And dude. So, and he's only 8 years older than Anthony Edwards. So, he would have been 12, and he would have been like a 20-year-old guy. That's just fucking fucked up, dude.
Yeah, because I'm a pretty big Anthony Edwards fan from his 80s stuff, and just when I look back and realize, because he claimed this went on for years, I'm just like, damn, like when I was watching his movies, this shit was probably happening to him. But I think at some point, because I could be wrong, I don't want to, and I'm not like victim shaming or nothing, but like, this guy wasn't that powerful in the movie industry. And I know it's a whole psychological victim abuse thing. I'm not blaming anybody, but I just wish he would have broken away from that, for his sake, for his friend's sake. I wish he would have broken away for whatever mind control this dude had on him. I wish he would have broken away from it earlier, obviously. Yeah.
So there's a couple of quotes in this article. I want to read this quote. Yeah, it's so weird. He says, this is probably from the essay. I was able to, it says here, he confronted him 22 years ago at an airport. Because how long was he abusing him? Do you know? Do you?
I thought he said it was like from 12 to like his like upper teens.
Okay, so that makes sense, the timeline. Here it says, Edwards says that he came face to face with Goddard at an airport 22 years ago and was able to confront his alleged abuser. Quote, I was able to express my outrage at what he had done, he wrote. He swore to his remorse and said that he had gotten help. I felt a temporary sense of relief. I say temporary because when Goddard appeared in the press 4 years ago for alleged sexual abuse, my rage resurfaced. At 51 years old, I was directed by a group of loving friends to a therapist who specializes in this kind of abuse. How would you feel about that? So 22 years ago, roughly around, the millennium, you just run into this guy that fucked you like 10, 15 years ago for years, and you just run to an airport and you just like vent to him. I don't know. That's like the opposite of what happens in that movie Sleepers, where you run into the guy that fucked you, right? Remember, they did that to Kevin Bacon.
And they shoot him.
Yeah, which is a fucking powerful scene. I don't know, man. Fucking weird.
Because they shoot him like 80 times.
It's great. It's fun. I like it when they're like, I don't remember their names in the movie, but he's like, you're looking at blah, 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 blah. And he just has this like stone look on his face, like, oh, like, as if he's thinking, oh, fuck me. And he stops eating for a second. Then he just goes, oh, so how you been? And he starts cutting his meat again. It's so uncomfortable, man. And I love it when they just shoot him under the table like 5 times. He's got this O face. Ah.
That scar on Kyle Reese's chin reminds me of that little cut on the bottom of your dick.
That little seam, the seam, the ball sack seam,
like that goes down your ball sack. Yeah.
This is kind of interesting. It says James Cameron's original treatment, Sarah Connor had an old figure skating injury, and that was fixed with a couple of surgical pins in her knee or something. And the Terminator cut the legs open, and the first 2 Sarah Connors to find the identifying mark. That was how they figured out who it says in the novelization of the story, the pins were instead inserted into her leg after it was broken during her final fight against the Terminator. Skynet knew Sarah had surgical pins in her leg, but not when or why she got them. The Terminator was therefore looking for a sign of an injury that had not been sustained yet. Interesting.
That's weird.
Here's I love it where they slow down the song. That's all you have to do to make a song sexy.
I know. like that's another thing too that separates this movie, puts it more in the Roger Corman era. Not that Corman produced it, but just the fact that James Cameron was a true protege of Corman. It's like we always got to have nudity. Sell us like Linda Hamilton straight up like doing like a nude scene in the middle. Like, I mean, just this movie tonally, everything about it is like so different than everything that in the rest of the franchise.
Yeah, I read that like Orion actually gave him two basically they put up some of the original money and they gave him two like suggestions, and like one of them was like Sarah and Kyle like having like a love spring throughout the movie, but the other one was like a weird one about like, well, yeah, a robot canine that helps Kyle Reese like as a buddy, and he didn't take that one, so he probably just added that just because like, oh, I guess I need to make these guys that are giving me money happy, which is weird because what if that would have like not been done and like Kyle Reese wasn't the dad? Like, I wonder who the dad would have been then.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely the time paradox, time travel paradox, but it's like, what made John Connor? Was it just that he was a guy who whatever? Or was it really only because, Sarah got, her toughness kind of got jump started by this whole, what happens in this movie?
See, maybe
to end up raising him,
Yeah, maybe the original John Connor was a weakling that sucked, and so like he figured out like, oh, I need to give me some better genes, so I need to find like a better specimen to send back to fuck my wife.
Acting
Or
skills,
fuck my mom, I mean.
not a priority.
Fuck my. He's a beta cuck son.
I think it's funny
Exactly.
too. Like, she didn't find it at all creepy. When he's just like, "Yeah, I had your picture and I was in love with you just from this picture for years. I pined over it like some fucking repressed prisoner." But did he have that look on his face the next morning? Like, yeah, because John Connor was his mentor, but I guess also you could say a friend.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I just nailed my friend's mom. I went back in time to fuck my friend's mom. I'm the fucking champ.
See, what if at the end you found out that was just a bet him and John made? You couldn't fuck my mom. She wouldn't just give it up that easy. And he's like, I bet you I could.
That's a good movie.
See, I always feel like even in this movie, like they're kind of changing the future, even though they don't know it, because it's like, when you talk about like the original version, like there might have been an original version of John Connor whose father was not Kyle Reese. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like,
See, I was trying to close that like plot hole like a long time ago when I was like 15 or something. I was like, how could they have fixed that? And like, I remember I came up with a little idea. I don't remember exactly what it was now, but like that was kind of a loose.
I like
idea, like around it.
I like that idea you just had though, where they had like the bet in the future. You just turn the entire movie into a sex comedy.
yeah.
The setup, yeah, and it would have worked.
Exactly. And then it's like, yeah, all that bullshit I was telling you about like the future being like, that wasn't real. He sent the Terminator back too, just to fucking make it legit.
Hey,
Yes.
by the way, I don't want to forget it. I'm going to say it on the air here because we were just I mentioned it. That would be a good idea for another exploitation, like we haven't done sex comedy like month. We got to do this class. I mean, we can do the classics. I do think Fast Times at Ridgemont High is probably the best, but it's obviously the most popular probably in the commercial. But there's so many of those.
It's not even that funny. It's kind of depressing.
It's mostly a drama, yeah, with some funny parts to lighten it up.
It's a coming of age thing. I guess so, but it gets thrown into the sex comedy thing.
It does.
We could do the private school, private resort trilogy.
Oh yeah, those are the best.
What's her name? Phoebe Cates is in Private School.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, that'd be fun to do. Anyway, digress.
I was gonna say if they made the sex comedy version of Terminator, you could call it the last robot Holocaust version.
Okay.
That reminds me, there's like in Germany or something, this movie has a weird, like really goofy ass name, like Cyborg Killer or something, like really generic.
Sounds like one of the movies that came out to capitalize on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they changed it just because like there's already a word for Terminator in Germany or wherever it was that already means something.
Probably something to do with killing Jews, and it's probably really not PC.
That's fucking, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But then by the time like all the sequels came out, like the bootlegs of like, the American version had already been like popular. So Terminator already meant like, oh, that's that movie. So they just called them, the rest of them, Terminator. Which reminds me, like those, the Italian, like straight to video or whatever it was, the unofficial sequel Terminator 2. Did you ever watch that go? Because I never seen that.
No, but I always hear about it. Yeah, Terminator 2, Lady Terminator, Alien Terminator, all those weird things. But no, I've never actually seen them.
Hey, on that topic of foreign sequels, man, I've also pitched this before. We also got to have like a Bollywood remake exploitation month where we got to do all these Bollywood versions of like the Nightmare on Elm Street Bollywood movie and all that shit. That'd be fun.
That movie is 2 hours long.
I would do it. We watched a 2 hour and 45 minute of Terminator 2. We could do a Bollywood Freddy Krueger. We could do it.
He looks just like fucking Pet Sematary 2 again. Hey, Junior.
It does.
Daddy got a boo-boo. Okay.
Yeah, like they're still doing like Bollywood remakes of like not even popular movies, but like they never end up like I know what you're talking about, like the old Freddy Krueger one I've seen clips from, but like the ones they do now, they still remake a lot of American movies, but they never like look like the movies they're based on. Like I was watching on cable the other day that movie with Michael Keaton and Andy Garcia, Desperate Measures. Like apparently, I think it was Bollywood remade that just like a year ago, and that movie's from like 1996 or 8 or something like that.
And it's a very very lukewarm movie.
Yeah, it's like why would you remake it?
And it's got Charlie Boy in it. Remember from the Jack Frost Snowman movie, Zach? It's got his kid. His kid plays. Like the kid plays Andy Garcia's son or something in that movie. I just know.
Yeah, that's dying of cancer. Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Keaton's the bad guy in this, so they're not father son in there. Yeah. But yeah, it's weird. I just remember how the movie ends, where he's like in the hospital bed, and I think he has a gun. And he puts it on the nurse or whatever. He's like, "What kind of car you got?" And then it cuts to black or something.
The security guard or cop or whatever he was. Yeah.
And I haven't seen this movie in fucking 23 years or whenever it came out, but I don't remember anything else about it.
Yeah, I only saw it once when it came out, and then I was like, it's on cable. I'm like, I'll rewatch this just because I want to see Michael Keaton play a bad guy, you know?
Dude, really quick, he looks downright creepy in these scenes. Like he
does. The makeup's great.
Well, even when they went, like it was kind of a prosthetic head. It looked like for a second, but yeah, when he's driving, you see that darkness and his fucking creepy ass face. Yeah, it's creepy, man.
Well, I always like the shot right before I think he gets hit by the truck where he falls down on the bike and then he's like on his hands and knees and he looks up real quick and sees the truck coming. I always thought that was like a creepy shot.
They actually foreshadowed that earlier in the movie when he goes to kill the first Sarah Connor. He drives up to the house and he runs over a little toy truck of that, and it's the same one he gets ran over in the later in the movie.
Oh yeah, I never noticed. That's cool. Man, we're almost to the end, man. We're almost to my favorite scene, that CGI sky, just so they could put in thunder.
Yeah.
You know, it's so kind of off-putting, but it looks awesome. I love the way it fucking looks.
Matte painting.
Yeah, it's a matte painting, I think.
Oh, okay. It looks fucking cool. Pretty good hustle, kid. Cuatro. Sí. His father will beat him.
This is just like the ending of Halloween 2.
It is.
It is. I was just thinking that. Remind me of that.
Did you guys see the Halloween Kills trailer? I didn't watch it.
I haven't seen it yet.
No, I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait.
Not exactly excited.
I'm not looking forward to the movie, so I'll wait.
Yeah, I didn't like H40. H40 when I saw it in theaters, it was okay, and then I've watched it 2 other times for this show, and it got worse with each viewing. So
I only watched it once, and like every time I think about rewatching it, I just watch one of the original movies.
It gets worse for me with each viewing. It gets less and less enjoyable. Like the things that I would say I liked about it the first time, at least, I don't know, they become less valuable with each viewing. So, and I think it Mac that even said? I think Mac messaged us, or maybe he just messaged me, where he was even starting to drink the Kool-Aid. He's like, you know, because he's like a defender of fucking Halloween to the grave, and he was like, yeah, you know, I watched it again lately, and I'm like, I don't think I like it so much anymore. But sorry.
No, I was just gonna say the only part I liked that movie was when he puts the mask on all in slow motion at the gas station, and then that part where he's just like.
So cool. I love this.
I think the scariest part is where he's just walking around that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look at that climax. I love it when that fucking exoskeleton just like comes from the rubble and just rises. It's so cool and iconic.
I think all the effects in this movie are pretty damn good too. Like there's just some where you could tell there's like some rear screen projection.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll take that over like this is awesome, the stop motion. Like this is awesome looking visually.
Mm-hmm.
I always like stop motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really neat.
And like obviously they do the CGI and the skeletons and the newer ones, and I always think this one looked the best, honestly.
I don't see why they don't use miniatures more often too. They never do that nowadays.
Yeah. Like I was wondering about that. Like if you wanted to save some money, or I don't even know if you would save money doing it this way anymore, but like if a movie did stop motion and miniatures now, like nowadays, like if you wanted to do it that way, is there even like enough people out there that know how to build all this stuff in miniature and stuff? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
oh yeah, it's a dying art. Yeah.
Because I know there's those people, I want to say their last name is like Warren.
Look at that effect.
But I could be wrong, like Gene Warren, or it's like Wizard Effects or whatever it's called at the end. But I know Cameron did some of this himself because there's actually like photos of him moving the little endoskeleton puppet from behind the scenes.
He's probably doing the feet when they showed the up close shot of the feet moving. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Now the exoskeleton that's in his, because I read a recent interview with him when he was doing the whole like press for the Dark Fate. He's got a skeleton in his like main work office. Is that like from the movie itself? I think it was. He's got like the actual thing.
It might be just one of those reproductions. Because you've ever watched like tours of Stan Winston's studio over the years, they have tons of them all over that like were not really screen used. Like now they make like those like $5,000 sideshow collectible ones. But I think for a while, I think the like Stan Winston was like doing licensed ones, like legit ones, and selling them for like 20 grand and shit for a long time.
Look at him pulling a Jack Torrance trying to get in here.
I read that like they originally like wanted it to look real, so they used like real metal, and like they shot themselves in the foot because he was super hard to move around and shit.
Yeah, because there's basically like the stop motion puppet. There's the Terminator that's basically from the waist up, and then there's also like, you know, the feet, they do inserts of the feet. And I think when he blows up at the end, you kind of see like the whole thing put together, but it's not moving, you know?
Rewatching this whole third act here, man, this is all straight up horror movie. Like just this pursuit and everything, and how it's very, very, very scary. It's pretty cool. And I love it. I don't get tired of looking at it. And it's so cool, man, how you don't see him in this form until the very end. It makes it very powerful. Like I can't take. I've seen this movie a million times, but I can't take my eyes off of it whenever they can show it.
I can't. I mean, I know because this thing has been in pop culture for like almost 40 years now and all that. But being like literally a kid going to see this movie and seeing this for the first time, because this is like the day and age of like, yeah, we knew he was a robot and blah blah blah. But back then, like androids in movies were just some phony baloney bullshit. But when you saw this as a kid, man, like it was like life changing in a way. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure this is probably how people felt in the 1930s, like when they were kids and saw Frankenstein for the first time. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I actually remember the first time I saw this scene. I saw the second Terminator first, and like it was like Terminator was always like Terminator 2. Like I was too young to even realize like, oh, it's a sequel. Like I just knew about it, and I seen it on TV and stuff. And then like I went to like my dad took me to his friend's house one time. We walk in and he's like, "Oh, what you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, we're watching Terminator." And I look over like, "Oh, I love this movie." And they're watching this scene, like the ending where like he's chasing her through the thing before he gets like, you know, like the trash compactor. And I was like, this looks fucking scary.
Yeah, it's
so yeah, I need to.
I think I mentioned this on T2. I saw T2 first as well. I mean, I was probably 5 when that came out, and I think I saw it like right away as soon as it was rented or rentable. And then I watched the first one after the fact. So it was just like Ghostbusters. I saw Ghostbusters 2 first, and then I finally saw Ghostbusters 1 maybe like a couple years later, but I saw Ghostbusters 2 and straight up 90. We had the VHS tape in like 1990. And I remember having a similar effect. Like, wow, this is me knowing as a kid that the tone is so much different going from 2 to 1 from Ghostbusters and this. And, but it's cool.
I noticed too, like, you remember, like, they made those bombs, and like while they were throwing them at him while he's on the motorcycle, I'm like, what the fuck? Do they make like smoke bombs? They're just trying to distract him.
Pipe bombs.
But then they end up like actually blowing up the truck and then blowing him up. And I'm like, fucking Kyle Reese, you suck with those bombs in that car when he's on the motorcycle.
Well, it's easy to kill Terminator, Zach, when you have laser guns and shit.
Oh yeah.
He wasn't used to, these primitive weapons.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's also cool too, man, because you get a fish out of water story too.
Yeah,
there's all kinds of cool elements that work for this. And technically, was the Nikes a product placement? Should we count that, or was that just what we used? Is that just what they had? There was like a deal there.
I think there was a deal there. I have to watch the credits. I think there is, but like pretty much every movie back then had a shoe deal, but like. Product placement then was so much different than it was now.
Well, it's very subtle.
They can't like if you're not paying for it, you can't show a logo at all. So like if you're wearing a shirt with a logo on it, you gotta basically turn it inside out, stuff like that. So basically, if they want to have a shoe, they're like we don't want to worry about like fucking accidentally showing the logo. We just better like get permission from this company, and then we'll just use that shoe for the character. So it just kind of becomes part of the wardrobe process.
Well, Nike had a shoe. I think the one he's wearing is called a Nike Vandal. But they did have a shoe, and maybe it came out afterwards. But Nike did have a Terminator, that shoe called Terminator.
Hey, this is horror movie 101, even down to the killer coming back for that one last kill, trying to not really dead. It's great.
Yeah, like it's exactly like
like a slasher movie or whatever, horror movie.
Like the end of Halloween, literally the first one.
Yeah, that's very cool.
I remember my cousin saying like you could blow him up and it'd be like one little finger left coming after you.
Oh yeah,
that'd be scary too, man.
It's like the fucking zombies in the Return of the Living Dead series.
Yep, exactly.
That also looked like did the same guy who did the effects for that do why can't I fucking spit it out, man? The Tobe Hooper movie Life Force, because they look very similar, like that weird zombie they had in the operating table in Life Force. You remember it?
Yeah.
That's been a while.
It looks just like the Return of the Living Dead zombie, so I don't know if it was the same people that did the effects or whatever.
Possibly.
I know William Stout designed all the zombies, but as far as who physically created them, I'm not sure.
Okay, well the design looks like spot on, like that thing, if you remember it.
Yeah. The shriveled in face and shit, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and super animatronic and all that shit.
It's all very reminiscent too of like some of the shit that's in Poltergeist as well.
Yeah, true. Life Force, that's a movie that I think the idea and everything on paper is so much better than the execution. I don't hate it. I just think it could have been so much better.
Yeah, I loved it as a kid, and I gotta say, like when you get on video now, I believe all the videos, whatever Blu-rays now, are all the extended cut. I like it. Like I don't know.
I do like it too. I'd say it's like I'd have to watch it again. It's at least a 6 out of 10 for me, or maybe a 7. I don't know. The TNA really helps. In that movie.
That's what I loved about it as a kid.
And it's still great now. It's very effective. But it looks great. The concept's great. Visually, it's very awesome. I don't remember. Maybe I have to watch it again. I don't remember if I felt like the tone shifted too much at the end or something happened with the end. Maybe it was a pacing thing. I guess I'd have to go back and revisit it. But it becomes like a straight up zombie movie. Like,
yeah, when there's like they're running around, like the whole streets are flooded with like zombies grabbing people and shit. I like that part. I like that it gets like that ridiculous.
I'd have to rewatch it again. Maybe it was a pacing issue with me, but no, I love it on paper. Like that's all you'd have to do to sell me on space vampires. I'm there. That becomes zombies.
I think all I've seen is the extended version. I think I did think it was a little too long.
Well, you know what? That's probably what I'm referring to then, because I think I watched the extended version too, and I think it was too long. So maybe I should watch next time around. I'll watch the theatrical.
Here, Aaron, you get to do the voiceover for this scene.
He's vulnerable to beat him. Pretty good hustle, kid.
Look at that fucking rockin' headband. She's so fucking hot in this movie,
dude. I can't believe. You know what? I moved out to Arizona like almost 6 years ago, and before I've been all over the place, man. I've been all over the country, all over the world, but I'd never been in Southwest, and I always attribute it to like this movie. And so when I first came out here, I came out here blind. Like I got off the plane, like, all right, time to go get a place to live. And I felt like I was in Terminator. It was so cool to fucking actually like be in this desert. Cause I don't know where they filmed this, but it looks like the fucking Sonoran Desert where I live, you know?
It does.
So, and it's really, really, it doesn't get old, man, when I can just walk fucking a quarter mile from my house and I can see that landscape and I can see that, that shrubbery, and we have those sort of sunsets. It's really cool. And you know what? I know it's all effect here, but when we have thunderstorms in monsoon season, it does kind of look animated. Like it almost kind of doesn't look real.
Yeah.
The way it's bouncing off the mountains, kind of like the effect they try and pull off here.
That dog's cool. Gina Davis and Leah Thompson actually auditioned to play Sarah Connor.
Really?
Really? I think Leah Thompson would have been too young. But that box set I used to have with the VHS and had this big book and the making of and shit. I really never understood why. They didn't really explain why, but like apparently there's like it's like 3 different kids that they use to play that one kid in this one scene. And then I think it's like a 4th kid that does the voice.
Really? This kid?
In later. Yeah. And like,
wow.
Yeah, they even had like pictures, like how the different shots, like one, there's like one, especially like when he runs away, it's a different kid. Like, it's really weird. Like, I don't understand like what the deal was. If it's just like they had to have different kids to,
it'd be funny if they got some dumb fucking white guy like me doing the overdub. See.
It kind of sounds like that, but they claimed it was a kid.
It's like the fact that they could go to all the work of getting a legit Mexican boy and then just get some white guy to fucking do a horrible accent overdub is funny.
Yeah.
Like when you see, you can tell it's a different kid when he runs away, though. It's like a shorter, chubbier kid.
Like from behind, I'm sorry, was it when he was it behind the headshot or?
It's when he walked away.
To me, it looked like the kid that you see, like you see his face and then you see him behind. Those look like 2 different kids, but I'm 100% sure when he ran away behind the Jeep, you can definitely tell it was a shorter, kind of chubbier kid.
But you don't see his face.
You don't see his face.
You just see the one kid. Look at that. I love the way it looks, man.
Did they just have to like come back for reshoots and couldn't get the same kid, or did they have all of the?
That's what it sounded like, but they never clarified. Or maybe just like they couldn't get the kids to sit still, so they just did like maybe they had a bunch of different kids there. You know what I mean?
Hey, so for dummies out there, how does that effect work with that sky, with that background?
They paint it on glass and then set it in front of the camera in the like on location. So like the bottom part where she's gonna drive isn't painted over, so that you can see through the glass on that part. Yeah.
They can do it both ways. They could actually, I've seen ones like you said, Zach, where they set it on the camera, and then ones sometimes you can do a green, like that's what they used to do. Well, I don't even think they were green screen back then. I think they were blue, but you could do a green screen type of way, and you can also do a way where like literally sometimes they take like just the picture that they filmed live, and then like they lay the plate on it, and then like they literally re-photograph it. That's why if you ever notice when you get these like old movies on Blu-ray sometimes, because that's how the titles are done. Like they just put title cards on top of the picture and then refilmed it. And those title cards like have all these like little spots and blotches. So like sometimes you throw in an old Blu-ray of an old movie and it's like the beginning, you're like, oh, this Blu-ray looks like shit. But after like 3 minutes when the title's over, all of a sudden it looks way better and cleaner.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool. Interesting. Well, the movie's over, man. I think this movie went by fast.
There's so many great scenes we didn't even talk about because we were too busy talking about woke fate.
Well, I mean, I thought the conversation was great and we stayed relatively on topic, minus my Kanye West fucking derail for 2 seconds. But no, dude, I mean, we could talk endlessly about this Terminator movie, even the shitty Terminator movies. I feel like warrant a conversation, but it was great, man. So let's go ahead and wrap it up. This okay, so if you guys are listening out there in real time, you got one more week. We got Terminator 2 coming up. Josh James and Riverman bailed, right? Did we just bailed. Yeah, so we did that one. We did the extended cut. So check that out, and that'll wrap it up. And I wish we would have planned this out better, because the next thing that Zach and I are going to do is Cinema Enema, because it's a little bit delayed because we went all out with this cyborg exploitation. I wish we would have planned it out, because I would have said we ended on Cinema Enema talking about fucking woke fate, because it just seems like we were kind of given a snippet of that during this podcast. But I guess we're doing Zach's choice, which is the Coffin Joe trilogy of movies. So we'll kind of pick up BAU after that. And then I would like to toy around with another exploitation idea. We tossed around a couple of suggestions this episode that I think are cool, but let us know what you guys want to hear, and we usually accommodate. So
let us know what, like, pimp your show, baby, and let us know, because Aaron doesn't know, but fucking the GOAT, he started another venture.
I was going to bring it up. I know.
With our good buddy, the Corey G.
Yeah, for limited time only, summer special, we got the Film Smasher. The first episode we reviewed Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The second one we did Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, and it'll be long already released by the time this drops, but tomorrow we're going to record a review of the movie Crawl, about killer alligators, cousin.
No Margot Robbie in that one?
Yeah, she did the voices of the gators. That's how Margot Robbie's in Crawl.
What? No.
Yeah. Yeah, because the guy she was dating at the time was one of the producers on Crawl. So they're like, wouldn't it be funny if like we got one of the biggest movie stars to come in here and do the voices?
So just short answer, because I know Crawl's streaming now. Is it worth streaming? Or you don't want to give that away? You want people to go listen to your podcast? Maybe that's right.
No. I'll put it this way. I will qualify it. If you are a fan of Hard Rain and or the Hurricane Heist, I would say watch Crawl.
Okay. Does it have Randy Quaid like Hard Rain?
No, it doesn't, unfortunately.
Okay.
But it does have Barry Pepper.
Okay.
And it's got good gore, there's some good chomping. It's just one of those movies you have to suspend your disbelief, because my main gripe with it is you have the two main characters who can fight alligators all day long, and they do get fucked up. Don't you know? They take some damage, but they're resilient. They can last for at least a running time. Meanwhile, everybody else who comes along, everybody gets killed in 2 seconds.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, kick ass, man. What about that movie Graveyard? Anything in the pipeline with that?
We just released an awesome episode. I actually would really recommend people to go listen to. Me and my boy Trev, we did a Forgotten Films of the 80s episode. Just came out like 2 days ago, and we each picked 5 movies from the 80s and just give a quick 15-minute kind of capsule review recommendation, whatever. That episode turned out pretty damn good. And then before that, baby, we had Idle Hands with Zach. So go listen to the movie Graveyard.
I listened to the new movie Graveyard and the new Film Smasher. Like they also did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That was a great episode.
Yeah, thanks, baby.
I need to listen to that Forgotten Flicks of the 80s, man, because I think that's a fun topic, and I often play with that myself too, as far as in my head. And funny enough, I've wanted to do some forgotten movies of the 90s, and I've always wanted to do Beyond the Law of Charlie Sheen, Well,
oh yeah,
because I feel like
with his mullet and beard, yeah.
And that's a formula. That's a movie that's been done a million times, right? There's a million movies that have done that same plot, but there's something satisfying about it. It's a good little popcorn movie. It's nothing you're going to be inspired to go write your own fucking screenplay over, but it's fun. Michael Madsen's in it, and I know that movie, and I watched it. I'm like, man, I don't think anybody knows this movie exists. And it was probably like one of those movies like Harley Davidson, the Marlboro Man back in the early 90s that sort of came out and it went up against some huge blockbusters and got buried.
Yeah.
Because Above the Law is a totally serviceable movie. It's like, this is a pretty good movie, if not stock and kind of like by the numbers, but there's a million hit movies that do this same thing to the same degree, if not worse. And I think it just probably opened up against some fucking juggernauts or something. It got destroyed. But yeah, that's I need to listen to that for the 80s one. I think it's a cool thing to do.
Yeah, there's some good off the wall recommendations on the Lost 80s podcast.
I was making a list. They talked about a movie called Real Men with our boy in it. Go ahead and describe the plot of that for him.
As a teaser, yeah.
So the basic plot of Real Men is, first of all, you got to see it. John Ritter plays a middle-aged nerd who gets beat up by the school kids in his neighborhood. And Jim Belushi, they presented Jim Belushi as like the most awesome, badass CIA, FBI agent in it. Like, he's literally an action hero. And meanwhile, they team up because there's an international deal or intergalactic deal going on with some aliens. Are going to give some top tech secrets. Released, all the scientific cures, everything, and all they want in exchange, the aliens, they just want a glass of water. So
amazing plot.
It's about these two guys trying to, meanwhile, all the communists are after them, all these spies are trying to kill them nonstop. Tons of action scenes. There's a scene where John Ritter, he actually fights in an alleyway, a gang of clowns try to beat him up. It's great.
Sounds awesome.
John Ritter's the greatest fucking movie dad of all time.
He's an American treasure.
Oh, he is. Big time.
Awesome. Hey, Zach, what do you got coming up next for Mac and Zach? I know you guys had recorded a whole shit ton last weekend and got stockpiled up.
Yeah, by now you've heard our episode of The Willies. Came out. And we got a couple drunken commentaries coming. We did a really big, I'll just tease it by saying it's a big fucking, slasher staple. Horror fans, you're gonna know exactly what it is when it comes out. Like, we've all know this movie. And we finally started to, if you listen to a recent episode, you heard me talk about wanting to tackle the series, so you probably put it together and realize what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's coming.
Kick ass, man. And everybody else, I also want to say too that obviously if you guys are new to the channel, if you guys are one of these flyby viewers, listeners, check out the rest of the channel. We got other shows on the network. Obviously Mac and Zach and Revival House. We got some deep ends and a bunch of shit, commentaries. So there's a lot of stuff for there if you want to just kind of rifle through. Also, though, as of this coming out, this should be coming out, obviously, it's probably the end of the month, very end of July. So that means right around the corner, I guess we can talk about it. William Lowry, who you guys heard on the RoboCop commentary, RoboCop 2 commentary, he's got a new show with his compadre, Matt. They do Will and Matt's excellent podcast on their own, where they kind of do a similar type of thing. They do commentaries and film stuff. They're launching a dedicated gaming podcast, and it's going to be part of our network. So when that debut episode should come out here in the next week or two, I would imagine, if my timeline's correct. So show that some love, give good feedback on it too, because we want them to blossom, and you want them to be supported and stuff like that. Because we've been wanting something like that on the network to round us out too. Because Zach and I are too busy to talk about games. I mean, I would love to. I'm stuck in 1985. I would probably you get old. It would get old me talking about Contra over and over and over and over again. So be on the lookout for that. And again, thank you guys for everybody that's come on lately. We've gotten, for us, a lot of subscribers in the last month or two. It's probably been our biggest bump yet. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that's come on board and everybody that's stuck around for such a long time. I guess I need to read a couple of comments. Are you cool to hang around for just a minute or two more, Goat?
Yeah, actually, we would like to hear the listener comments.
Yeah, I mean, I try and at least. I feel like this one has gone on the perfect length of time, so I was kind of naturally ending it. I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot about comments. So I'll pick out a couple here, but no, man, I love reading, especially the guys that post every single week. Man, it's really fucking awesome. Let me get something pulled up. Zach, do a song and dance while I get these pulled up.
Hell yeah, fucking you guys see the Vestron? They're putting out Little Monsters.
Really?
Little
Hell
Monsters
yeah.
on Blu-ray. I can't wait. I love that movie.
What was the second one? They're putting out another one too, Zach. What was it?
Shivers.
Oh yeah, I want to get Shivers, dog.
Oh yeah. And I heard they're dropping the price to like $15. That's dank.
That would be sweet, man. Because the other ones, you'd be lucky if you get them for like 22 or something.
I was gonna get the class of '99, and it's like $22 still.
Okay. All right. So
on Amazon.
I'm going to read a couple of comments, and I'll read a string of comments on the more relevant stuff because we just did the cyber exploitation. Keep in mind, our recording is out of whack, and Zach and I kind of really got front loaded and got really caught up. So you're not going to hear any comments for RoboCop 2 because as of us recording it, that's not out yet. You're not going to hear T2 or anything like that. So, but I'll read a quick one. An archived comment that was new. Turtles 3, Ninja Turtles 3. Maxwell Unash says, I want to waterboard Donatello with my semen. Okay. Is he commenting on your derpy ass fucking Photoshop?
Me too. I always thought the same thing.
Okay, and I felt like I want to read this one just because he put so much time into it. It's quite a long comment, but Maxwell also commented on our Halloween 2, Rob Zombie Halloween 2. So bear with me, Zach, while I get through this. It's of Capperfield proportions and size. He says, while from a technical standpoint, the original Halloween is the best in the franchise, I have always preferred Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2 to Carpenter's original. Am I a Rob Zombie fan? Simply no. I think he's one of the worst directors in recent memory, and a clear and constant reminder that being provocative does not equate with thoughtfulness. You shat on 31, but I think even his supposedly good films like House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects are just as shitty. While Zombie's Halloween movies suffer from many of the same problems as his other films, I think his remake is at the very least more interesting than the original. Young Michael Myers has great chemistry with Malcolm McDowell and Danny Trejo's characters. I don't think young Michael Myers had interaction with Danny Trejo in that movie. That's me a sidetrack. I think it was just old. Anyway, Scout Taylor Compton's Laurie Strode had a lot more personality than the original Laurie. Zombie's second Halloween, like all of his movies, has a lot of dumb shit in it, but I thought it was a compelling look into how people differently cope with a traumatic event. I don't consider the original Halloween, while good, to be one of the great horror movies like most people do. Laurie Strode is a bland protagonist, and I don't think she would be as acclaimed of a character if Halloween didn't launch Jamie Lee Curtis's career. And he says, I don't. Memoirs of Invisible Man is better than Halloween. That seems like kind of random, but really, I haven't watched Memoirs of Invisible Man in fucking years, man. I think I saw that when I was a kid as like a Saturday afternoon. It's Chevy Chase.
Isn't that one of his most hated movies?
That was his That was a director for hire movie for sure for John Carpenter.
I actually heard the opposite. I actually heard John Carpenter like really wanted to do that, and the only way he could get it made was to accept Chevy Chase on it, and like he was really disappointed because it ruined his experience of the movie.
It doesn't say, it's one of those movies that doesn't say John Carpenter's like on the front tag. He's not really, advertised on the movie. So he's, I think it was a for hire thing. I mean, I don't think he wrote it or anything, right?
Ironically, the one that I heard Carpenter say was like a for hire thing that he didn't really care about, and it's kind of shocking because the movie's actually pretty good. It was
Elvis Starman?
No, Christine.
Oh, yeah, and people love that one too.
Yeah, like he just part of his career was, I don't know if it was sagging or what happened, but yeah, they were kind of just like, oh, like if you want to make a movie at this time, because Stephen King was so hot, they're like, you got to take a Stephen King story, and he was kind of like, didn't really feel like it was up his alley. But I think the movie turned out great. Personally, I think it's a great movie.
Yeah, it's really, really cool, and he did like the score on that too, so he was kind of like half in.
Yeah.
Right, because he didn't do any of that shit for like Memoirs of Invisible Man. He was literally just, I think, a director for hire. I don't think he did anything else but directed it.
He was just taking up the ass from Chevy Chase.
Yeah,
but I heard a lot of people say Chevy Chase is asshole. Yeah,
it's funny. Okay. No, man. So thanks, man. And I noticed that you're going around and you're going through the archives, Maxwell. I think you're a fairly new listener because I see you commenting and liking and all these old ass videos from years ago. So I like seeing that. I love it when people discover our channel this far deep in because you just have a treasure trove of content. I love it when I find a channel like that where I can just fucking binge shit for 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's all new. Okay, lastly, I'm just going to read some stuff from RoboCop because as of this recording, this is the newest commentary we have up. So on RoboCop, that was featuring Will and Riverman. Bloodless RVC says, this is the very first VHS tape. I sounded Swedish for a second. I had as a child. I learned how to use the VCR because of this movie. This was my introduction into the world of cinema, and believe it or not, my childish mind learned good and evil by watching this violence at such a young age. This movie is literally part of my being. Great commentary, and I would love a Rambo commentary in the future since I just bought all of them in 4K. Hell yeah, man. And you can buy Rambo 4 on 4K for like $8 at Best Buy. They're all pretty much on the cheap. I think I bought all of them for fucking $10 or less over the holidays or something, But yeah, I love me some Rambo, which by the way, I don't know if you like Rambo, Goat.
I love it. I got all the 4Ks as well.
Okay, I love Rambo. Now, did you watch Rambo 5?
No, I kind of got fucked up because we were doing a marathon, and then we were behind on the marathon, and the movie, at least locally where I live, came and went. So I'm just like, I don't know. And I'm kind of bummed because I want that international cut, but they won't release it on home video. Yeah,
it's streaming currently though. The extended, I know. Well, it's on Amazon Prime and Apple TV if you have that. And I was telling Riverman about that because I thought the extended cut, director's cut, whatever you want to call it, did a real service to Rambo 4. So I was excited because I was like, okay, because, I have issues with Rambo 5. I think it's a good movie. It's not as good as 4. 4 is just mindless, fucking over the top fun. It's just great. Rambo 5, it's like 88 minutes. It's technically a minute shorter than even the fourth one. And they're trying to go the dramatic route. It's got like violence in it, like over the top violence, but it's more of a slow burn horror movie violence, not just like shoot a Gatling gun at like 100 bodies and watch raw meat fly into the air. So it's a different thing. Anyway, I think this one, if any of them, could have been assisted by a director's cut because there was some development I wish was there character-wise, and them trying to capitalize on dramatic moments I don't think were really earned. But I was like, okay, maybe a director's cut's going to fix that, like the fourth one. And it didn't. I watched it and I'm like, it adds like fucking 15 minutes on the film, which is quite a lot. It's more than just that intro you read about. Like I kept reading about that different intro. Yeah. And I'm like, I couldn't wait. When I was reading about that, I was pissed. I'm like, man, that sounds cool, man. That sounds like way better of an intro. When I watched it, I'm like, man, this needs to go. It's not good. It goes on 5 minutes. It doesn't add a whole lot of anything. And then there's like a whole extended breakfast scene the next day where he's talking to this surrogate grandma, like the maid or whatever, who worked on the farm. And it does nothing but give really forced exposition between the two, and it's kind of cringe. I'm like, dude, I'm glad all this isn't in the theatrical version. And so none of what they add is serviceable. It doesn't make the movie better. So I meant to tell River about that when we talked to him last, because it was kind of disappointment.
So can I get your opinion? Am I going to be okay on this Black Friday buying just the theatrical version on 4K for $8? I won't be missing anything.
No, you won't be. And you know what? Like, buy it, and then then if you want to, watch the version on Amazon just for free, and the scenes don't add anything. They just make it bloated.
Well, watch it for free if you pay them $100 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, if you already have. Yeah, I know people say that all the time. But no, Rambo 5 though, as Zach put it, Zach doesn't like fucking Rambo, but even he gave it a serviceable score. I think you gave it like what, a 6 for you. That's high praise.
I like I like the first Rambo. Like I'll watch them all.
But you were right. Your breakdown of it, you said it felt like one of the Hellraiser sequels, where it was clearly another script and they slapped Rambo on it at the last minute.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's entertaining. It's a pretty generic revenge story. But you know what, though? I like so many of those movies, as long as they do it well and it delivers in the areas I want it to, I can deal with it not exactly being new. You know what I mean? Right. And as far in this movie, it has big payoff. It's got little problems there with like character development, and some of the acting, like Rambo 4, is kind of fucking like, eek. But you can kind of find enjoyment in that too if you want to. But just the payoff, it's only 88 minutes, and it's honestly worth. There's a lot of violence in this movie. Like in the middle of the movie, like the second act, when there's a scene where basically there's a whole portion of the movie where Rambo goes to Mexico. It is straight up Michael Myers. Like he is going like stealth, and he is murdering these people. Like slow stabbing, cutting their throats. It's pretty brutal. Stabbing guys in the dicks. Like what the fuck? And then the third act goes straight up Home Alone or First Blood, because that technically came first, where it's booby traps and it's over the top violence with the guns and shit. So it satisfies that fucking itch for just Rambo violence, if anything.
I haven't seen the movie, but I gotta say, a lot of people, well, not a lot, but I've seen some people try to make some political statements about the movie, saying it's racist. Let me understand. These people are apparently not Rambo fans, because Rambo will travel the globe, go to any country, any continent, kill anybody. He is an equal opportunity mass murderer.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's nobody else for him to kill, man. He's killed everybody else but the Mexicans. Now, I mean, I wrote a fanfic when I was a kid, a fan script of what I thought was going to be like Rambo 4 or whatever at the time, or 5 or whatever, wherever we're at in the series.
Probably would have been 4, yeah.
Yeah, and it was Rambo basically taking the Rambo formula, but basically, I don't know if it was the president's daughter or somebody in the military's daughter, basically was stuck in North Korea. Whether, I don't remember, she like went there on some kind of visa and couldn't get out, did something illegal, whatever, but only one man can save her. Rambo had to get like flown in from a chopper about a mile from the coast, and he had to swim the rest of the way so he could infiltrate the island and jump the fence. And basically, Rambo takes out the entire North Korean regime single-handedly and saves the girl.
That'd be great if they made that movie, but like little to Rambo's knowing, like fucking Kim Jong-un actually is a god, like they actually tell everybody, and he could just like make fucking like he could just flick his finger and like lightning starts striking. Like he never takes shits apparently.
He turns into a giant like Kim Jong-un Godzilla with laser beams coming out of his eyes. That'd be a pretty cool twist. No, anyway,
amazing film.
Anyway, we can't do that now. I think I don't know. I don't know what's going on in North Korea, but I think a day will come where a movie like that wouldn't be relevant anymore. You can't really make that. We saw what happened when Seth Rogen made a movie about fucking North Korea. You know, it fucking got all kinds of blowback.
That's weird how people were so afraid that if we showed this Seth Rogen comedy, people were really convinced that nuclear missiles would fly over here from North Korea.
No, not the rickety ass fucking World War I missiles.
Did they ever find out if North Korea actually did like do that leak?
The Sony hack?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Because they easily could have just claimed that and been like, yeah. Like that was a happy coincidence.
Well, it's kind of funny though, because what's more likely, that North Korea did a Sony hack, or that people within Sony leaked all that shit and all the top people, which is what happened, got fired and whatever, and a new regime came in? It was probably internal sabotage more than anything.
Possible.
Rock on. Continuing on RoboCop to wrap it up. Adrian Mendoza, of course, he says congratulations on 4,000 subs. We had crossed it when he had made that comment on YouTube, which is great, man. I mean, it's slow going on YouTube, but when you consider we're an audio only fucking fan podcast, I mean, it's not exactly our neck of the woods. So I'm blown away whenever we cross another 1,000. And I will say this though, when it comes to the land of YouTube, every 1,000 that we've gotten has been much quicker than the previous 1,000. Like we got this 1,000 in just like 6 weeks. So here's hoping we're gonna hit that. I want to hit 10,000 on YouTube. That'd be pretty fucking cool. Hopefully it happens before I have gray hairs. So, but no, appreciate that, man. Thanks, Adrian. You've been around for fucking years, so we appreciate that. Witch King says, hopefully cyborg exploitation will include Van Damme's cyborg. We do bring that up on a commentary you haven't heard yet. Alas, it does not. The movie's not very good. But yeah, I'd never liked Cyborg, and I've been wanting to revisit it, to be honest with you, because I watched it a few times when I was a kid, and maybe it's possible I give the benefit that maybe my little kid mind just wasn't grasping it, and I need to watch it.
I'll put it this way: it has no story. So when you watch it, it plays like which it is what it is our Pune fever dream. It plays like a nightmare. Like literally, like 40 minutes of the movie, like half the running time is just this one extended long chase scene where Van Damme has to fight people in various locations and kill guys in sewers or whatever. I feel like if you go in knowing what you're about to see, it's actually really cool.
Yeah, as a kid, I remember. Obviously, as a kid, I'm used to Van Damme. I was watching Lionheart, very ABC type movies, and yeah, I just maybe I need to watch it with an adult's brain. So I want to. I know Shout Factory released that, right? Was it Arrow or Shout Factory? Who just released it? A special edition?
I think it was Shout Factory because they did it right after MGM put it out. So
okay, yeah,
you can get it. I have the original MGM version. It's very, very good transfer. So because originally it was out on I think like a non-widescreen DVD for like 20 years, and finally all these Blu-rays came out.
Okay, Witch King, he says, Ishmael Premier, he says, where's the big booty bitches? No reference here, just me being goofy. I don't know. Where's the big booty? Wait. Will commented, though. He said, is Zach not thick enough for you? What?
Oh, yeah.
With the two C's, the thick.
Somebody tell us where we are. We'll go find them.
Yeah, Oliver Closeoff says, I'm shocked, sickened, and saddened over William having never watched Home Alone. Shame. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I listened to... William also did sort of a pilot for his game podcast just to kind of let us hear it, and neither one of them ever played a Legend of Zelda game either. I'm like, what the fuck? How do you never play a Zelda game, and how do you never watch Home Alone? Well, he's a few years younger. Maybe that'll do it. But I figured it transcended generations. Like they play it every holiday season, so it shouldn't matter how old you are, I would think. But it is what it is. Carlos Argent, he says, okay, because we were commenting on him because I guess he was commenting on the last commentary and it came off dyslexic as fuck because it was just like a bunch of typo shit. He says, LOL, all good, man. I'm just poking fun at myself, getting too much into my head canon. But man, I'm surprised you never owned any RoboCop action figures. I only own 2. Most of my collection is NECA, so I got the NECA spring-loaded RoboCop and the ED209. Great display prices. And look great in Terminator display. Glad Will had a good time in here. He has some good chemistry with the group, so be sure to have him stick around. You should give Dredd another go, by the way. It's a fun action film that doesn't take itself too seriously, but still has fun amount of grit to it. Anyways, thanks for the great content as usual. I fell asleep watching Dredd. I heard so much good shit about it, and I was just real tired, so I need to go back to it and give it a fair shake because I fell asleep. Let me see. Yeah, let me see. I think I got a fucking, I got another, Adrian posted a new comment as I was reading that. So let me read that and we'll call it good. On RoboCop. Adrian says, funny episode. Sorry you guys had audio problems. William was on fire. Love the impressions, Will. It was nice hearing from Riverman as well. Sorry, Aaron, that you can't work out. Tell me, Aaron, what's your workout attire? Oh, God. Be as descriptive as possible. No, that's all right. I imagine Aaron wearing a stringer shirt or a sleeveless shirt with very short and tight workout shorts. I regret reading this. I have been listening to the Movie Graveyard. I love the podcast, and I love GOAT. I love his special guest, Trev, and of course, I love when Zach is a special guest too. Could someone please ask GOAT this? What is better for your channel, that I download episodes or that I subscribe to it via Google Play? Well, he's here. Isn't that weird that this popped up now?
Wow, amazing.
That was lucky.
That's weird. We willed him into existence here. Go ahead.
Well, our host is through Podbean, which gives us pretty damn good stats. So either way, it's going to record it either way. Just first of all, thank you so much for listening to the show. Just do it however is better, easier for you. I mean, we don't have sponsors or anything. It's just I like to look at the numbers to know more than anything what episodes are hitting or missing with the listeners. So thank you so much for the support. Appreciate it. I was gonna say, I've been getting a lot more comments, even like way back on the YouTube channel, and more reviews on iTunes and stuff. And I would think because it's people I don't really know, I would think probably a lot of that has to do with the times I've been hanging out with you guys. So thank you guys, dude, and thank you to your audience,
dude. It for sure works, man. The cross pollinating and stuff like that. I'm sure we've gotten folks. Oh, I know we have. Like when we post those old exploited episodes, we get a lot of those old greasy motherfuckers coming for those, and then they'll start commenting on our shit, and it's really cool. And I know for a fact I've seen a lot of usual suspects over on like Josh's R-rated channel. So yeah, it definitely helps, right? And it's a cool thing. And if I could direct your question, Adrian, to our stuff, it's kind of the antithesis of what he just told you, but the correct answer is subscribe and download. Do all of it on all platforms. Really, because no, I don't know how you listen. I think he subscribes. I think he's told us before. I think he subscribes on like Google, and he watches YouTube. So he really is a hardcore guy. This is the guy you got to cater to. People like Mendoza. These are the life's blood of shows like ours. So endless support, man. So we can't thank you enough, Adrian, because like I said, you've been here forever, and every single week we look forward to your comments. And for as long as we can physically do it, we'll always make time to read your comments and as many people's comments as possible. So I love that they always come in. So that's all we got, though, guys. Keep the support coming. Same old shtick. If you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, hit the notification bells if you want to get alerted every time we post shit. If you guys want to listen on free feeds, this is the way I prefer to do it. We always post links everywhere that'll take you to YouTube, or if you want to go over to Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. And even if you prefer the YouTube versions for some reason, at least go over there and leave us a 5-star rating, maybe even a couple words of feedback. Just those ratings alone, that helps the algorithms, and that helps us rise to the top and gain more exposure and sort of get into the visibility of people that would also enjoy the show. So that would mean the world to us. Other than that, if you guys want to support the show in other ways, I mean, your listenership is more than we could ever ask for. We do have a Patreon that we're going to revamp soon because we launched it right as the pandemic hit. So it's fucking terrible. We're going to redo that, I think, with some different stuff and make it, I think, even more appealing. We have a Teespring as well. I know a bunch of you guys have ordered shirts and stuff. That's really cool because Teespring really does kick us back a really good chunk of every one of those sales. So those help out a shit ton. So, if you guys ever want a cool design, at least check it out. There's something that represents almost every show on the network. So yeah, all that stuff helps, and it's always appreciated. So thank you guys very much. We'll catch you next time. Let us know what you guys want to hear in a new exploitation month, perhaps. We're out. Bye-bye, puppets.
End of the week at the Revival House. Next month's theme, you gotta figure it out. Italian zombies or Pauly Shore, a slasher with a knife and the girl next door, and 1 second in, get it all queued up and ready, hit play in 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye puppets, Zach Pete and a solo cut band. Couldn't miss Cameron's love and Josh's Scott failed and Riverman's bail. Bye-bye puppets. Sounds good, like this country used to.